So I just wanted to clarify that this is a procedural motion to move a matter from the open into the from the closed into the open. So for this discussion,
Point of order, Lord Mayor. I don't think this is contrary to the regulations. It's not a procedural
excuse
motion.
me, would you please? It's
It's not a procedural motion.
Councillor Elliott. If you could stop interjecting, that is your first warning. All right?
Oh, that was quick.
Yes.
It's not actually a procedural motion, it is just a motion.
If you'd like to explain what they can and can't debate, yeah.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. So the item that's being sought to be brought forward from the closed into the open is to be treated as a closed item until such time as council makes a decision. So you're not legally able to disclose and discuss and debate matters that are actually included in the agenda item itself, but you can discuss whether or not you're prepared to accept the reason that it was put in closed. So whether or not you're comfortable in terms of the legal risk that exposes yourselves and the council to. That's the parameters of the debate, because you're not able to lawfully discuss what's in the actual report until the council makes a decision to bring it into the open. So is that?
Yes, and so in that sense, it might not be a procedural motion, but it is about the debate is not about the content of the motion. So, and I want to just remind, could you please, Councillor Elliott, just allow me to chair this meeting. Could Councillor Elliott please sit down?
I have a question about the motion.
Not yet, I'll finish what I'm saying and then you can ask your question. So I want to just remind elected members before they vote on moving this from the closed to the open, the advice that you've received from the CEO about some of the risks of debating this in the open, and just be aware of the caution with which any debate about moving it from the closed to the open needs to be had.
I have a question.
Yes, you have.
Okay, so just through you to the CEO. In accordance to the correspondence from the Director of Local Government, we can mention a line item. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yeah, that's public information.
That's public information, so we can just mention a line item. And furthermore, it is correct what the Mayor just advised us, that it's not a procedural motion, correct or incorrect?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
But you are discussing all you're discussing at the moment isn't the content of the motion.
The line item.
That's really important. You're discussing just the motion of moving it
Thank you.
from the closed to the open. Okay, Councillor,
Just a question.
Councillor Elliott was the seconder, were you, Councillor Elliott?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Councillor
Just a
Dutton.
clarification. With regards to item 10, from the closed coming to the open, at this point in time, we are looking at item 3, which is transfer of agenda items.
Yes.
Item number 8 is indication of pecuniary conflict of interest. I will not be given that opportunity, so that I will sit and go through this. Thank you. Is that right? I just want clarification. I'm talking to the chair. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm talking to the chair. Thank you.
Councillor Dutton.
Speaking to the chair.
Yeah, Councillor Dutton, that's a matter for you at any time that you want to, but as I said, this isn't discussing the actual motion. This is discussing whether to move it from the closed to the open. Okay, Councillor Alderman Zucker.
See, we've clarified now and we're all happy. Can I get to close agenda item, please? The item in question, and I'm going to read the item in question that is enclosed. The item in question is Councillor Sherlock and the third-party conduct of management's response. Lord Mayor, I also would like to point out whether or not you have got to point 8 of indication of pecuniary conflict of interest. The Act is very, very specific that if an elected member it's got no relevance to the meeting agenda, it's got to do with the Act. And the Act is very, very clear when an elected member has a conflict of interest, they must not sit in the room for debate. And now, I'm not going to read every component of it, off the cuff, but through you to the CEO, does the Act state in the first section that an elected member who has or who may have a conflict of interest must not participate in the debate at hand? Is that correct or incorrect?
Yeah, broadly, without having the Act in front of me, yes, that's.
Thank you.
Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Are we debating? I'm a bit confused procedurally. We're on a transfer of agenda items. There's a motion before us to transfer something.
Yes.
Are we currently debating that motion?
No, you're debating whether to move it into the.
No,
open.
I understand.
Yes.
The motion, the procedural motion.
Yes.
To move it. So can I speak to that?
You can, and I just
Excellent.
again ask Councillor Dutton if you could take a seat, please.
Chancellor may have a conflict of interest.
I'll sit to allow him to do
I
that.
just need clarification, that's all, because as per the item agenda, that wasn't asked for. Therefore, to clear any doubts, I would now seek leave on this matter. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Oh, that was, sorry, Councillor Dutton leaving the room. Yeah.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I seek to have this motion put, as there is no need for us to debate this. We have all the information before us as to whether or not it is legal. We have the governance advice. We don't need to have an hour's circus about whether or not we move this from the open to the closed. Let's be mature, go to a vote, and if we want to move it to the open, then so be it. It's not stifling.
So no, that's the motion be put, which is a procedural motion. I'm just saying, I don't think we need a seconder for that.
You have the discretion not to allow a seconder.
Okay. If anyone would like to second the motion be put. Councillor Kitsos. Okay, so this is just a motion about moving this item from the closed to the open. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Isn't, point of order, Lord Mayor, don't we vote on the procedural motion for it to be put first?
Yes,
That-
it's the two.
Yes,
Right, but you said this is a vote on it to
That's
be
right.
moved from the open.
yeah,
You didn't say this is a vote
Okay.
on it to be put.
that's what I meant. Yeah,
Okay, so
Well, it's kind of important.
yeah, all right. That this motion be put now without further debate. Okay.
No.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour, show of hands.
Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kelly. That's carried procedural motion.
No, they need to put the motion.
Okay, so that is now that the motion be put, so I'm going to put that right now, so it's voted on without further debate. And this is whether to put this from the closed into the open. All those in favour of moving it from the closed to the open say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kelly,
And against?
Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Lord Mayor. The motion to is lost.
Okay, so that is lost. Are there any other items, transfer of agenda items? There being none, we'll move on to communications from the Chair, and I guess it is related because I think it's really important to as Chair of this meeting and as Lord Mayor, who is responsible for good governance, to speak to the the letter that we received on Saturday from the Director of Local Government. I am going to just read parts of it. Councillor Coates?
Point of order, contrary. I don't believe a conflict of interest was raised for the communications with Chair, so councillor data wasn't given.
Okay, so dear Councillor Alderman, it's with ongoing concern that I write to you, this time with a focus on your individual and collective obligations to respect confidentiality. I'm compelled to do this in light of media reporting about matters that I understand will be considered by Council during the closed portion of its upcoming meeting on 27th of July. That reporting includes references to information that I understand have been provided to councillors in advance of the meeting on the condition that they be kept confidential. As all councillors ought to be aware, confidentiality obligations under 338 of the Local Government Act play a critical role in maintaining and supporting the good governance of councils. It's disappointing and concerning that in the final months of Council's term, I need to clarify and reinforce these obligations. For your convenience, I again reproduce the relevant provisions below, and it goes through the provisions under 338 of the Act, which is around the disclosure of information. There's two provisions, I won't read them out, but anyone interested can look them up. It also outlines the penalty of a fine not exceeding 50 penalty points, and that a court order could also dismiss a councillor for confidentiality obligations. So these are really serious on all of us. So clearly, the Director goes on, clearly compliance with these requirements is not discretionary, and I can assure all members that where my council becomes aware of potential offences under 338, either in response to the receipt of formal complaints or based on information that might otherwise support an own motion inquiry, it will consider and investigate such matters. The Director goes on to make it clear that my office and its regulatory responsibilities are not to be utilised as a tool to further agendas by individual members against their political opponents. If my office determines that it's inappropriate to investigate certain matters, it will do so. And he finishes by imploring us to remember, respect and uphold our important obligations as elected members and act individually and collectively in the best interests of the community you serve. He also notes that we are in the final few months before an election when the community will obviously make some decisions. I also want to personally remind elected members that as leaders, our words carry more weight with our supporters than we might realise. And so we have a responsibility to not inflame situations or demonise our colleagues. I am aware that at least one elected member has received offensive physical threats, which I will refer to the police. As elected members, we can either seek to heighten or calm divisions, and I ask that elected members do the latter. We may be in the lead up to an election, but it's really important to finish this term with dignity and decorum. Thank you.
May I ask a question from you to the CEO, please?
You can ask it of me and I'll see whether
I'll ask it of you, Lord Mayor.
Yeah.
It's in regards to section 28 of the Local Government Act, functions of councillors. Can the CEO or the Lord Mayor please provide me the relevant details under section 28(1), A, B, C, D, section 2 and section 4 in respect of the roles and responsibilities of elected members, and can the CEO please direct me where it states anywhere in the Local Government Act that I as an elected member cannot perform my role during or just before an election.
Sorry,
Okay.
point of order, Lord Mayor. This is contrary to the Act.
Thank you, Councillor Possett. I was just about to rule on that question. I think we can take that on notice, but as an elected member of 30 years, we can, yeah.
And just a question, but happy for
Sorry,
you to
point
take
of
it
order,
on.
Lord Mayor. This is not question time.
Questions can be asked at any time, I'm afraid, Councillor Posselt. Well, not that I'm afraid, they can be.
In between items? When
It's
We're on
not,
communication from the
it's
chair.
not ideal, yeah, okay.
it's finished.
We're on the item.
Let's see, what's the question?
Well, yeah.
I'll allow this
Happy
one.
for it to be taken on notice. My question is, should we interpret that letter as being that elected members should turn a blind eye to stealing? No. Okay, thank you.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Councillor Elliott, you heard what the director said.
I was
and-
just asking a question.
No, you weren't asking a question, you were deliberately trying to provoke.
I just want to
a particular
understand.
response. No,
Very
well, I'm
clear.
not accepting that question. That question is ruled out of order.
Okay.
Okay, notification of council workshops is item 5, and so on the 13th of July we had the health and wellbeing strategy and the Christmas transport options. There was, and then on the 20th of July there was another workshop with the Domain Athletics Centre Master Plan discussed and a funding program review. Now, item 6 is public question time, and we do have a question that was provided on notice from Mr. Jason Dale. Would you like to come forward, Miss Jason?
Testing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dale.
My first question is a matter that has been raised for clarification by a ratepayer, and that question is, are there any plans for future work on Newdigate Street, such as adding a traffic line down the middle for traffic separation? My next two questions are fairly similar in substance. In short, we are in a housing crisis, yet Hobart is notorious for being extremely painful to build in. There are quite a few tradespeople, builders, engineers and architects who will not work in the Hobart LGA due to the costs, delays, red tape and other issues and obstacles imposed by council. Hobartians already pay the highest rates on average in Tasmania, so why is council not doing everything in their power to reduce the cost of building a house, purchasing a house and renting? Can council please explain why the process to obtain building, planning and related permits takes so long, is so much more expensive than comparable jurisdictions, and is noted as requiring far more reports and paperwork than comparable jurisdictions? And can council please explain why Hobart City Council's planning, building, plumbing, etc. permits are so much more expensive than like-sized municipalities, considering all Tasmanian LGAs operate under the same planning legislation? Thank you.
I will ask the CEO to read out his, the responses that he's prepared to your questions, Mr. Dale.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mr. Dale, for furnishing him with the questions prior to the meeting. So, yeah, officers have provided a response. So, in terms of question 1, so there's no plans at this stage for future works on Newdigate Street, such as adding a traffic line down the middle for traffic separation. Question 2, so the response is, so the premise of the question is not accurate. The time taken to assess planning applications by the City of Hobart is comparable with other councils, as can be seen from the Tasmanian Council's consolidated data collection statistics. The most recent published time for discretionary applications in the City of Hobart was an average of 34 days, which is one of the lowest figures published by any council in Tasmania. So the CDS statistics do not include plumbing and building permit timeframes, so a comparison with other councils based on data is not possible. The complexity of development, sort of infill rather than greenfielding, significant development, not seen in other municipalities, impacts the nature of the reports required to satisfy the planning scheme requirements, and the cost of applications is addressed in the following response. So in response to your third question, I could advise that, again, the premise of the question is inaccurate. So in 2021, council officers did a benchmarking exercise to compare our development service fees with other municipal areas. So this review was undertaken after feedback that our fees for larger developments were much lower than other councils. So the fees that were endorsed at that time were based on that review. So since this time, most City of Hobart development fees have only increased by CPI. So for an example, of a comparison with the current financial year fees. A development with a cost of works of $800,000 would have an application fee of $2,404 in Hobart, $2,680 in Clarence, $2,745 in Glenorchy and $2,914 in Kingborough, plus the advertising fee if that's applicable. So thanks again for your questions, and we'll provide these responses in writing.
Okay, are there any other public questions taken during our public question time? There being none, we'll move on to the responses to public questions taken on notice. So would someone like to move those? Moved by Councillor Kitsos, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 7 is supplementary items. There are none. Item 8 is indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Any members wish to elect an interest in any item appearing just on the open council agenda? There being none, we will move on to petitions. Is there any petition? Oh, there is a petition for Salvator Road traffic flow. Moved by Councillor Lohberger.
Lord Mayor,
I need a seconder first. Councillor Harvey.
just a question with regard to this petition. There was a number of items that were listed to improve the road performance in the area. Will they be examined individually as part of the local area management plan? Within the petition, there was quite a number of suggestions for improving the area.
Yes.
How will they be handled once this petition has been to council?
Understand, yeah. Yep. Director Abey.
Through Lord Mayor, thank you. We, as part of the local area mobility plan, there is a suggestion to lower the speed limit in the general area. That has now been approved by Building Tasmania. Our intention is to implement that change and then monitor how that impacts this particular road and the surrounding road network. So we're not ruling out other changes, but we would like to make that change first and see whether other changes are necessary or appropriate. Okay,
thanks, Lord Mayor. That's clear. So the changing the speed limit is a priority for now, and then other things will be considered later.
Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm not sure if it's possible to move an amendment to a petition receive a note.
It's a recommendation, so yes, you can.
Thanks.
If you want to.
In light of that, given the issue that Councillor Harvey has raised, but also that this petition speaks to things well beyond just speed limits, including a retaining wall that was placed over under a heritage listed tree, missing signage to tell us that new retaining wall is a road hazard. There are quite a variety of concerns that have been raised by residents in this neck of the woods, and it's one of those great petitions where the residents have come to us and told us what they need. And so we've identified this.
Councillor Posselt, I just need to interrupt you for a moment to see if there's a seconder for your...
May I move the amendment?
If you could move your amendment.
Certainly. So the amendment is that council staff agree to meet with the lead petitioner and community on site and arrange that as is able to be achieved. Sorry, my words aren't working very well clearly. But that staff, the director, meet the community and the lead petitioner in response to this petition to be shown the hazards that they've identified and their asks through the petition.
Okay, I think we've got...
Is that clear enough? Governance?
Yeah, I'll just see.
Sorry.
I've got something like a new 3. Council staff meet the petitioner on site to be shown the additional items in the petition. Is that sufficient? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Dutta, seconded for that. Is there any discussion on that? Any further discussion on that?
Speak briefly to it, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very briefly, I've met with the petitioner on site. There's very aged signage that's missing. There is an issue of, as I said, a retaining wall and a significant pine tree obstructing a road with no adequate signage. There's a whole range of issues that are just too hard to address, and they're not going to be addressed in the land through a strategic speed reduction. It needs a more nuanced approach, a more tactile, hands-on approach. and that's why, just in good faith, getting a director out there with the community, I think it's a reasonable step. I'd ask you to consider it in good faith around the table.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that amendment? Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Okie doke.
That's the amendment.
Oh, sorry, that's the amendment passed. So now we'll move the full motion of the petition on Salvator Road traffic flow. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Okay, item 10, we're now moving on to officer reports. Item 10 is the Local Government Association of Tasmania General Meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Posselt. Any discussion? Councillor Kitsos?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a brief point. I just wanted to say how heartening it is to actually see Break of Day Council bringing forward a motion that refers to Regulation 11.3. I think it's high time that the local government of Tasmania has the ability to charge cost-reflective fees for complex discretionary visitor accommodation applications. These applications demand significant officer time and technical resources, and ratepayers shouldn't be subsidising that administrative burden. So it's great to see that other councils are taking this on board and that they're following the leadership that Hobart City Council has most recently endorsed themselves here. So really pleased to see that on the table tonight, Lord Mayor.
Any further discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 11 is the land hand back Queen's Domain, moved by Deputy, seconded by Councillor Lohberger. Recommendation of 5 points. That's been moved. Any discussion? Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I am so thrilled that this particular motion is before us in council, and I fully support this historic motion in this chamber. Today is not simply about a parcel of land. Today is about history. It's about respect. And today is about the kind of city we want Hobart to be and become. If this motion is carried, it will mark the first time the Hobart City has approved in principle the handback of the land to the Aboriginal community, our First Nations people. There is a significant moment in the history of our city. There are occasions in public life when councils make decisions that are measured in dollars. There are other occasions when decisions are measured in roads, in buildings, and sports structure. There are times when politics and personalities sometimes become the focus of the decision making. But this decision is measured in something far greater. It is measured in trust, it is measured in reconciliation, and it is measured in our willingness to acknowledging the enduring connection of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people to our country. For tens of thousands of years, the first peoples of Lutruwita cared for this land. Their stories, culture, and traditions did not begin with the European settlement, nor did they end with it. They continue today through the strength, the resilience, and determination of Tasmania's Aboriginal community. This motion recognizes that particular truth. Importantly, I want to reassure the broader community that this proposal is not about excluding people. The land will continue to be accessible to everyone. This is not about building barriers, but this is about building bridges. The proposed Aboriginal-owned and operated cultural centre will be a place where Tasmanians will be able to showcase their history, their language, their art and tradition, and not only with one another, but with every Tasmanian and every visitor who will visit Hobart. With that in mind, for me, this motion offers reconciliation, and it is for us today to act as leaders of the city. This proposal, in my view, will enrich the Tasmanian Aboriginal community, it will enrich the wider Tasmanian community, and it will enrich every visitor who will visit Hobart seeking to understand the unique story of the first peoples of this land. And I believe wholeheartedly that there are members here in this chamber who will support this, and I put this motion to my fellow colleagues for their support. Thank you.
Councillor Kitsos.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I really want to speak in such strong support of this historic motion tonight. Moving forward with this in-principle handback on the Queen's Domain is a practical, long overdue step that moves us beyond the symbolic gestures and into, finally, some meaningful action. This proposal isn't just about land tenure, as my colleague, Councillor Dutta, just explained. It's about addressing a pressing cultural need. An Aboriginal-owned and operated cultural centre on this site will provide a dedicated, secure space for the preservation, protection and respectful storage of invaluable Tasmanian Aboriginal historic and cultural artefacts. Beyond housing artefacts, this facility will also serve as a vital hub for truth-telling, for education, for deepening our shared connection to country. It creates a living space where story, history and culture can be shared, benefiting not only the Tasmanian Aboriginal communities, but also our entire local community, school groups and visitors to Lutruwita. For me, I really note that this is an easy thing to do for us. This is long overdue. It just makes sense. We can utilise previously disturbed land near the summit. We can align directly with our existing 2018 Domain Summit plan. The site will remain open and accessible to the broader public, and backed by a collaborative management agreement, it ensures that we will care for this land in perpetuity together. Recognising Tasmanian Aboriginal connection to Lutruwita means taking real decisive steps, not just words, authorising our CEO to work through the necessary subdivision legal checks, questions around the Crown legality. These processes are the practical things that we need to do tonight, and I encourage all councillors around the table to acknowledge this and support this motion tonight.
Further discussion? Any further discussion, Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think we all here endorse the comments that have been made tonight. We had this proposal or idea put to the council at a workshop last year, I think it was last year, approximately 6 months ago, and it was very warmly received. And I come away from that meeting and think, wow, this has been a great thing that we've all been able to unite on an item here that we can move forward with, and for all those reasons we've heard tonight. No one's disputing that, and that's great. I do say, from my experience, whether it's a planning application, whether it's about dogs or in parks or any matter this council has to deal with, and there aren't many being in a community such as Hobart, we've got to try and bring the whole community with us. And I think that's the key thing here. The division in the community of Hobart over a number of things, and we're all aware of some of the major things over the years, the cable car and a few of these other things, it divides the community. And that's the very last thing we want to do. Sure, there'll never be a perfect scenario where every single person is going to agree on every single item. So I want to make sure that we bring the community with us and that we don't have information that's not complete, that's ambiguous, or that can lead to dissent amongst the community. And therefore, this is going to take a while, this whole process. It's like a building application now in Hobart to build a house. It takes a year, it can take more if there's objections and there's further studies and everything. This is, as we've said tonight, a major event. And any major event or proposal needs a major study. So as part of bringing the whole community together, let's really dot the I's and cross the T's. I just had a couple of points here that I'd like to throw into the mix. And through my amendment that you hopefully have all received, and I've sent to the CEO and to our legal officer.
We might need, if that's what you're talking to, an amendment.
We'll bring it up to the amendment in a second. Yeah.
We'll just bring it up on the screen.
We'll just stop the clock for a moment. anyone know how far away it is? Or- Okay.
I can continue talking a little bit if you'd like me to, Lord Mayor.
Okay, sure.
And we've seen another example was the Battery Point Walkway. First put forward some years ago. Great debate on it, and that was good. However, the big stopping point was the legal side of it. And we saw this council in the first iteration, and I do notice come back for further conversations in more recent time, it was around about $500,000 we spent purely in legal fees. And that was addressing the concerns and the issues raised by the neighbours and the residents of the walkway down there. And it ended up very bitter, and it ended up going on and on and on, to the point it was just dropped. It has, as I just mentioned before, it's started again, and already that's been going on for some couple of years. And this is the very point I'm trying to allude to here, is that we want to get on the same page here, but before we start the actual starters going on it officially, let's make sure we've got everything lined up perfectly so the whole community can be aware of everything and do that. So, as with the Battery Point Walkway, the thing that nobbled that was the Crown land, or it's not only the residents, but the main thing there that's going to be the stopping point for that will be the acquisition of Crown land for that walkway to be able to go ahead. Now, if we don't get that Crown land being given permission to use that or authorised or whatever the legal process is to use it, the whole thing is dead in the water. And we can go over all these other studies like we've done down there. We had engineering reports, we had consultation with the community and all that. But at the end of the day, unless you can address the main issue, there's no real point of going ahead. Hence, I've put forward an amendment here that I can bring up verbally if you want me to.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. It's quite simple. It's okay, but everyone's been sent a copy on their email. And in my attempt to bring the community together and avoid the bad feelings that might be from some elements of the community or the press or whoever it may be, the 3 points are that prior to the in-principle approval and further reports being conducted as listed on the agenda item here, there's quite a few. There's the planning, there's, and all those other things. That all legal issues relating to the Crown grant conditions and restrictions, as described in 3.10, be examined and reported back to council. So this is good housekeeping. There's nothing scary about it, and it's just a way of bringing everyone forward. The last thing we want to do is lodge expensive planning applications, have all the studies that need to be done, and then find out, sorry, the Crown, for whatever reason.
Councillor Kelly, I'm going to have to interrupt you because you've gone to your well over your 5 minutes, and I've now received your proposed amendment, and it's contrary to the. I'm advised that it is contrary to the intent of the motion, so it would be a foreshadowed rather than an amendment, because it's a completely different approach. So if the motion doesn't get accepted, then your motion will come before us.
Okay.
And that's it for the time, yeah.
I just had a couple of questions, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay. Through you, Lord Mayor or CEO, we recently had the new process to submit an application for ideas to come to council, unsolicited bids. Now that was formally adopted, I think, about 6 months ago, and to deal with a proposal or a situation like that, I just wanted to clarify to make sure, as part of the housekeeping here today, that this doesn't have to come forward, or is it more appropriate that this proposal comes forward for the unsolicited bids?
CEO, would you like to respond to that?
I can. Thanks, Lord Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Kelly. I had the question asked to me earlier today, actually, so I have an answer here. But So the request, the initial request for the handback on the land and the domain was received on the 18th of December 2024. Then there were meetings in January of 25, and we had a subsequent letter on 21st of January. So that's effectively when the process sort of kicked off. So that predated the council's endorsement of the unsolicited proposals and policies, the guidelines, which, as you said, is actually on the 24th of November 2025 that we endorsed it. So nearly a year after the handback request had been considered. So look, as substantial investigations and discussions had already occurred prior to the implementation of the policy, the request has not been progressed through that policy. So the decision sought tonight is for in-principle approval only. So any subsequent steps would involve significant legislative processes, each requiring public engagement and council approval. So accordingly, the proposal could still be referred to the policy if the council consider that appropriate. And the main difference in terms of the process as it stands now would be that under the policy we would pull together a proposal evaluation committee and provide advice to council through that committee, as opposed to simply getting it through the Office of the CEO.
Thank you. And one other question, if I may, Lord Mayor. Community and stakeholder consultation. Have I missed it in this report here that will be part of it? Obviously, with a development application, we get ideas, but is it not possible that this is such a major proposal that we go out and we go far and wide and get the opinions of the relevant people and stakeholders?
No, I think that's a good question as well. So look, there would be actually 3 discrete public engagement processes through this. So one would be the subdivision, and then one would be if the road closure requires a statutory process to engage with the community, and then the third and final would be when the council actually makes its decision around the disposal of public land. So that's when the real decision gets made, that final decision. So that requires that there be a statutory public engagement process, in which case submissions can be received and considered by the council. So that's why it's in principle, with obviously a significant amount of work and public engagement to happen into the future.
Further discussion, Councillor Lohberger.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. Look, I won't go on. It's been said already, particularly by Councillor Kitsos, but I just wanted to welcome this motion. I think it's one of the most important things we've done in the entire term. Coming right near the end as it does is a bit of a shame, because as a group we won't be able to see it go forward, but I'm really welcoming of this particular proposal. I'm particularly excited about the proposal to share the land up that is ultimately granted. So the existing user groups on the domain and also the existing management groups on the domain will be coexisting with the Aboriginal community. And I think there's a lot to be gained for everybody out of that relationship. I think it's a fantastic proposal. I will make the point that once again we're stepping into a breach that's been left by the state government when it decided to plonk the stadium on ground that was previously suggested for something like this. And finally, I'll just addressing Councillor Kelly's worries about what order we're doing things in. I do note that part 4 of this motion that we're asked to approve tonight does say that it requests the CEO to report back to the council on the outcome of the subdivision process, the legal investigations and the negotiations with the state government and the Aboriginal Land Council of Tasmania before any consideration is given to disposal or transfer of the land. So I think, as has already been pointed out by the CEO, I guess there will be a number of bites of the cherry for this room and for the community to have their say. So I really welcome the motion. I hope that it passes tonight. I think it will. And I look forward to change coming to the top of the domain. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. Just as it wasn't shown on the screen, I think it's important to just step through what Councillor Kelly's foreshadowed motion would have been, because I do wholly support that. It was around getting advice on the legal issues first of all, and the community and stakeholder consultation be undertaken prior to in-principle support, and that given the project's significance and scale, and that no major decisions have been made, that it be undertaken through this unsolicited bids pathway. And we heard last meeting how important that policy is. But in terms of this There's a lot to like about this proposal, having been in the workshop, but I do have some concerns. I do think it should go into the unsolicited bids process for reasons that were well articulated at the last meeting, and because all that's really happened so far is internal discussions within the council. We haven't even provided in-principle support. So the ship hasn't sailed. If the council's serious about the unsolicited bids policy, which we heard last meeting it was, then that's where it should go to. Also, I have a major issue with the fact that the community hasn't been asked what its views are, and there's serious concern out there around it, and that's quite justified. And I don't think it's at all appropriate that we provide in-principle support for something as significant as gifting 5 hectares of public land without the community being asked how they feel about that. The consultation points that were referenced before around subdivision and roads, they won't be broad consultation. They'll have specific points of consultation where people can provide feedback, and broad feedback that unrelated to those criteria will be irrelevant. So I don't think we can really pass those off as being proper consultation points. And then by the time we get to consultation on the actual transfer, this will be months, if not years, and hundreds of thousands of dollars later. And there would have been significant time and investment made in it, and then the community's asked its view at the very final hour. So no, that doesn't sit at all well with me. When we're gifting 5 hectares of public land before we provide in-principle support, under the Act we're required to consult with the community. We should be asking the community what they think. And before, we also spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all of these different things, the legal aspects, the planning, the heritage, the environment. So that's where I stand on this matter. But in fairness, there's a lot that I do like about this concept. And I actually would really like to see it get over the line with the public's support, and especially with the public being asked, because I do think that the Aboriginal community needs to have a beautiful and respectful home for their artefacts and to tell their story and their history, and where people can learn more about the Aboriginal culture and pre-colonisation and what happened during the arrival of Europeans. I think that should be a real asset to the city, and I think the domain on top there would be a great location for it. I think it would, I saw the architecture for the building and think it looks stunning. I think it would be beautiful and a real asset. And I am hopeful, and I said during the workshop, that I would actually hope that this proposal might actually have some sort of healing approach where the Aboriginal community, the Land Council, as stewards or owners of this on behalf of the Aboriginal community, would develop this wonderful centre, and we can almost have a bit of a truce where here's this Aboriginal centre, now can you please leave our statues and place names alone? Can we please have, point of order, Lord Mayor, the Greens are laughing.
Sorry, just if you could just try and keep the interventions from the public gallery down, even if it is laughing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairwoman.
Just to disturb the speaker.
And as I was saying, I was interrupted by the ever so rude, constantly Greens. The architecture...
Sorry, Councillor Elliott, that was unnecessary.
Right. So was the laughing. The architecture is beautiful.
Councillor Elliott, I'm just saying, can you please just refrain from making personal reflections on somebody in the room?
I wasn't reflecting on person, I was reflecting on the entire party.
Well, it was a personal reflection, and that's your second warning.
Okay, thank you,
Councillor Elliott.
So I was hoping that I am hoping that this would be some sort of a healing pathway forward, and you will leave the statues and place names alone. Mr. Franklin has a target on his head now, so does Franklin Square, and we don't want it, well, a lot of people, we don't want any more of that, so I'm really hoping that the community is consulted, because you can't give 5 hectares of land, and at that point I will just ask a question, please. Through you, Chair, do we have an idea of the estimated value of 5 hectares of that land?
We don't at the moment. I think the CEO, or do you know?
No, we haven't got the value. We would need to get the value as part of any disposal process. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, we all know it's going to be significant. So to summarise, there's a lot to like, and I would like to see this get over the line. I think a lot of the people in the community that are apprehensive about this when they actually see what we saw, and especially if it came from a sentiment of moving forward and almost like a truce around walking together and being able to learn and respect each other's cultures, including the colonial culture that arrived here, then I hope this really does get over the line. But we must consult with the community. That is our obligation under the Act, and this is a major significant gifting of land, and the
It's
people
time,
should be
Councillor
asked.
Elliott. I had my head down.
I was
Coun-
first.
okay. Councillor Harvey.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Look, just firstly, the contact or the discussion started in December 2024, and the unsolicited bids policy was introduced in November 2025. So this has been an ongoing process for a while, and I'm assuming those conversations have led to where we are today, which is fantastic. So it's been a dialogue, and I assume that's been a long and constructive dialogue to get to where we are. So the unsolicited bids policy, I think, is not relevant at this point. But I would say, though, I'll say, in principle, support is a starting point, and that's really important, because you've got to be able to say, yes, we're really keen or we're interested in going down this pathway. And I'm really keen and interested to go down this pathway because I think this is the best pathway to get the outcome, hopefully, that we're all looking for, which is the handback of this land on top of the domain, which is a really great physical and symbolic gesture. And Hobart is doing its best in this space. Look at the wall here. We've been working on this, our relationship strategy for a number of years, and this is a real centrepiece for that. So the in principle support means to commence this process. It's not to say it's all signed off now, but it's at the start of the process. And I'll just point to the second paragraph here. This authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake all investigations necessary to progress the proposal, including legal, planning, heritage, environmental land tenure. So there's still a bit of water to go under the bridge, but now we have the in principle support to go forward with those other parts of the project. This wasn't brought to us through a DA, it wasn't brought to us through the unsolicited bids policy, it was brought to us through a conversation that's been occurring for quite a while, which is a really good process. So I'm really happy with what we've got today. It helps me understand what's necessary to get this completed over time, and it will take time, and there's quite a number of steps, but we have to work through all those steps to get to the desired outcome. So I'm really pleased to see this report. I'm really pleased to see the structure of it, which makes it really clear in my mind how this land handback will proceed over the coming months, if not possibly a year. And when it comes to community engagement, most of these steps will involve a community engagement of some sort, including the DA at some point. So there's no point having a community engagement now because there's nothing to talk about necessarily about what the plans are for the domain. They will evolve and they will come to us in the fullness of time for discussion and for community engagement. But we can't put the cart before the horse by saying we need to engage now before we even have the final designs or we understand what the process is to get through to that stage. So I think this is a great process. I think it's a great initiative that we've developed with the local Indigenous cultural group, the local Indigenous people who were here for many thousands of years before us. So I'm pleased to see it, and hopefully that goes through a smooth process over the coming months and year to get to the outcome we all hope we get to.
Alderman Bloomfield.
I have a couple of questions. One was the time. Is there a time difference between the process we have now and actually incorporating elements of the unsolicited bids? Is there much of a time difference to apply the extra pieces?
No, not really. As I say, the main difference in terms of the process we'd follow would be that proposal evaluation committee. So it wouldn't add to the time frame that we'd be following.
Okay. Because one of the generic issues we do have in the community, and this is not just local government but state government, federal government, is consultation issues. Because consultation and lack thereof is where we have issues of trust with the community. And therefore, anything that encourages and strengthens consultation helps. So, and frankly, I'm quite a fan of the unsolicited bids policy and process, because it holds us well above any insinuations, any issues going forwards. And I think that's a really important element to look at. What I don't like is it being hitched to other discussions around Crowther statute and so forth, simply because that's not actually what we're here to discuss. We are here to discuss this piece of land and what we actually generically all at this table really liked. I mean, don't underestimate the value of that workshop that we had, where we all absolutely loved the outcome and the concept, everything. So I feel it's getting a little bit shafted to a side, which we don't want to see. So I guess my question would be, would it be possible, for instance, given that we have the recommendation, that we have the process, then I appreciate exactly why it is that we wouldn't have the unsolicited funds bids process now, because of simply the fact it didn't exist when this is established, would be, could we perhaps, as an in-between, just incorporate the community consultation a little earlier, so that we can at least get that value and exactly the really important elements of that process incorporated earlier, so that we actually get maybe a hybrid this time round, and simply increase the value of the consultation and make sure that we absolutely get the community on board and absolutely build their trust at a time when trust is something that's really quite moribund in our society. Thank you.
Oh, I think the CEO, was that a question or just a comment?
Well, is it possible? Yeah, I guess it is a question, really, yes, isn't it?
Sorry, I took it as a question. Thanks.
Yes, okay.
Look, it certainly is possible, and in many ways preferable. Like at item 3, you would be authorising me to lodge and prepare a development application for a subdivision and the subject land substantially in accordance with the parcel identified in the report. As part of that process, it is good practice to undertake a more informal community engagement process before you actually go into the formal development application process. So I'd be more than happy to commit to the council that we undertake that preliminary engagement process before we actually submit the development application, so that people have an opportunity to be aware of what the proposal is, and then it makes for a cleaner actual statutory process, I think, if you've done that. So I'm happy to commit to that.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion on this item? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I was actually going to ask some questions, but I think they've probably been answered already. I just wanted to ask around the consultation, but I appreciate the CEO's response. I just wanted to clarify, is this Crown land or is this council land?
So no, it's council land.
Oh, okay, great. Just wanted to clarify that the discussions before around Crown land were not accurate. This is actually Hobart City Council land. Lord Mayor, I do just want to start by showing you this calendar. It's a strong and proud calendar. Back in 2018, I received this from Charities 30 years. And I just want to read just a few things. It's a calendar that actually talks about celebrating our strong and proud Aboriginal women. And there's just a few that I think is really quite pertinent for today as the foundation for what I'm about to say. And it's for this one is the September 2018 by Shep Thorpe. And it says, "Because of her, I can stand proud as a Tasmanian Aboriginal woman. Josie Miller, my mum, granddaughter of Mary Jane, great-granddaughter of Fanny Cochrane Smith, delighted in sharing many stories about our mob with me and my siblings, growing up in our farm at Nichols Rivulet on wastelands of the Crown, granted to Fanny by the colonial government of the day. I was fortunate to be surrounded by my mob, up the road, down the road, across the road." I also want to share a piece which is from April 2019 in this particular one, and it's by Teresa Sainty, and it says, "Because of her, I am determined to grow my family strong and proud." From May 2019 by Ruth Langford, "Because of her, I can connect to country, culture and ceremony. And the last one that I'd like to read, Lord Mayor, is from August 2019 of this calendar. And I think it's a really powerful message. It's a very powerful picture. And it says, because of her, I can love, share and keep up the fight for rights. And that's by Sharon Lundy. Lord Mayor, we are here today to make a historic decision on behalf of our city. And I'd like to just say a few words about that. Land is more than soil, it is memory, it is language, it is ceremony. It is the place where ancestors are still present in the wind, the rivers, and the silence between footsteps. Returning land is not about rewriting history, it is about acknowledging it. It is an act that says truth matters, dignity matters, and that healing begins when we are prepared to restore what can still be restored. The strength of a community is not measured by how tightly it holds power, but by how courageously it pursues justice. When land finds its way home, so too does a part of our shared humanity. When we honour the first custodians of this land, we deepen the humanity of us all. Land handback is not the end of a conversation about our past. It is the beginning of a more honest future. It recognises that country has always been more than property. It is identity, culture, responsibility and belonging. Truth-telling is not measured by the words we speak, but by the justice we are willing to live. Today, we as a council make a historic decision. We as a council sit on the precipice of meaningful change. A people separated from their country carry a wound that spans generations. Land handback is not an acknowledgement that the oldest continuing culture on earth never lost its connection to this place. Returning land is not about taking something from one community, it is about restoring something to all of us. Truth, respect, and the possibility of a future built on justice rather than denial. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Zuko.
I just have a couple of questions, Lord Mayor. Firstly, just in regards to this parcel of land, let's hypothetically say it's all done and dusted, transferred and everything. Will it have open access to anybody?
Yeah, certainly that's the intent that's been communicated to us, and we, and as I've identified in the report, would look to be able to provide a legislative means of ensuring that.
Okay. Yeah, the other question there, will there be a cost, in regards point two, would there be a cost in going down the pathway of planning, heritage, environment aspects?
Yeah, look, there will be a cost, Alderman Zerko. It's a subdivision, so it's not a massive, complex development application, and there's a lot of research that we have to do in respect of the history of the domain in terms of the legalities, so there will be some legal costs associated with that as well. But again, I'm happy to report back in terms of what the cost will ultimately be, but I wouldn't expect it to be excessive.
Okay. And you see, that's where my concerns are. Because what we're saying here is we want to give principal support to hand back some land without any consultation or whatsoever. I've got no issues with the proposal in general, but I think what we're doing is we're going down the pathway of putting the cart before the horse. Because under 2, and if you read 3.10, that is where I sort of stopped to a point and went, the Crown grant conditions on the title restriction require further legal examination to determine whether the proposed subdivision and subsequent transfer are consistent with the purpose of which the land was originally granted to the city, or whether separate approvals or legislative action may be required. That to me highlights we have to get over obstacle 1 before we can get to any other pathway forward. To me, what we're going to be doing here is granting all these things to be done without understanding the legal pathway. And I'm glad Councillor Kelly mentioned the Battery Point walkway, because we spent millions of dollars going down that pathway and we hit an absolute roadblock. But in the meantime, we're doing designs and doing this and going through this, and then we hit the roadblock. So we wasted funds to go down a pathway. Look, you know, to me, doing things also without consultation to bring the community together also creates an issue for all parties, not just one. I understand this matter came before in a discussion in a workshop. That was a discussion in a workshop. I know council officers have been working on it to bring something forward, which is fantastic. But to me, approving a handback of land in principle, tomorrow's newspaper is going to be the Hobart City Council hands land back to a group. The other point that was made about what are the plans? What are the plans? Well, to me, the plans are very, very clear. The plans are to hand back land as in part 1. I asked the question a little while ago in regards to whether or not access, and 3.7 of the report identifies the parcel, and the intent is that it be basically fenced, right? And accordingly, and the area has been included within the draft parcel to meet the requirements of the survey and still retain necessary legal access to the lot containing the wireless station. Well, the way I'm reading that is, the only access we're going to have on the land is to get to the wireless station. So that's not clear to me that it's going to be, and the CEO has said intent. Look, you know what? To me, I would support this on the basis that we do step 1 first. Let's find out the legal issues. Number 1, it comes back, and then we determine the legal issues, consultation, on the basis that we get the information back through the consultation stage. I'll probably support the whole concept because I think it's fantastic, but we're not going down the right process. What we're going to get tomorrow is we're going to get those people who are going to be totally against it emailing me, and then if I vote against it, I'm going to get those people who are totally for it emailing me. And all we're doing is, to my point of view, is going down the potential pathway, what we did with the Battery Point walkway, in giving hope to people. That's what we did. We gave hope and we hit the roadblock. We should never give hope to anybody when we haven't covered our tracks. So I honestly believe, and again the words of the CEO, intent. Well, we need that clarified as well. So I'm sorry to everybody, and okay, I'll get my emails tomorrow of abuse, I'll get my text messages of abuse, someone will put something on my Facebook post, so be it. But I feel that if I'm going to make a decision, I want to make a decision to ensure that legally it can be done, and I'll be happy with that. And we go down the pathway of consultation and bringing everybody on board. If we do those 2 things first, I will give, and everything comes, the legal aspects are ticked, and the consultation process doesn't highlight anything untoward, and that we all can share the land, and I'll respect the land that I go on, because every time I travel all over the world, I respect the country I'm in. I've always done that, and I always will. And if I'm going to go to this part of land, which is Aboriginal country, I'll respect that land when I walk on it and abide by what the intent is. So, Lord Mayor, I can't support the current motion, but I would support something that provides us that legal aspect. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Question through you, through the CEO. Look, I think there's a genuine intent displayed here tonight that we really want this to happen. could it be, short of the amendment I'm putting forward,
It's a foreshadowed motion, Councillor Kelly.
foreshadowed motion, beg your pardon, that could we be given, and maybe it could be noted, that the priorities prior to all the other studies being done, that the priorities would be to clarify this Crown grant conditions, and that was I was referring to. It's not so much as Crown land.
Councillor Kelly, what's your question?
Can the Crown grant condition be confirmed and the public consultation? And I think we can get this over the line unanimously, because this would be a brilliant way to start the whole process here as CEO.
I think I follow what you're asking. So look, one of the reasons why the recommendation is structured the way that it is that there's a substantial amount of historical information that the council and the state government need to actually understand and find, and to be able to then inform any legal issues. Certainly the officers that have been consulted, don't see particularly problematic, but issues with the current title that was provided by the Crown grant, but it remains to be seen by doing the extensive literature review. So we certainly will be prioritising. That's the first thing we are doing before we progress through to any formalised development application process. Again, that would come back to council, and again, as I said earlier, more than happy as part of that subdivision process prior to going through a statutory process to undertake a community engagement process. I guess what the decision tonight would just empower me to be able to do that work. But yeah, as I say, I can assure you that will be prioritised in terms of the first order of business before we move on to anything more statutory.
Thank you, Chair. To clarify, we'd be looking at the Crown grant conditions and the consultation process, and then going off anything that requires deeper investigation and expenditure, we'd be doing it that way. Is that correct, Chair?
So basically, just to clarify, so point 2 would authorise me to undertake all the investigations necessary to progress the proposal, and that will include what you're talking about, is making sure we resolve the land tenure issue with the title. That's priority number 1. What I've heard tonight is there's a want from the council to have a more engagement with the community prior to the process getting into the statutory process. So again, I would be happy to do that prior to lodging the development application once the legal issues are resolved, which goes to Alderman Zuko's point. So.
Thank you. And just to follow up on that, to give you some context to it, there's been a lot of discord. We've all read about this.
Sorry, Councillor Kelly, straight into the question, please.
Map-wise and everything else, there wouldn't be a problem.
No, that's not a question.
Lord Mayor, through you to the appropriate officer, can I think, in all respect to the CEO about his words that he's just stated, but unless something is in the minutes, and it doesn't occur, can there be argument as to what the intent was? I've been around this chamber quite extensively, and until I see it in the minutes, it's not kosher. Now, if it's in the minutes, it's confirmed. Is that correct or incorrect?
The recommendation, yes.
Yes, thanks.
In the recommendation, it's correct or
yes.
incorrect?
Yeah, so my response to the questions, will it be in the minutes?
Yeah. Well, I ask you this question. Will the legal advice and consultation be in the minutes?
In the minutes?
Yes. Because it's not it's nowhere here.
It's all in those processes though, Councillor Alderman Zuko. That
Lord Mayor, I've been around here a while.
Yes.
It's not in the minutes.
So
it won't be in the minutes.
It won't be in the motion, but we can certainly minute my responses to the questions to ensure that it's there.
Okay, could you confirm? Sorry, I just need to make sure that your words will be in the minutes.
Alderman Zuko,
Lord Mayor,
I'm sorry, I don't...
Okay, look, I'll vote against it. It's okay.
No,
I'm trying to get somewhere. You don't want me to? I'm sitting down.
The CEO has said that his responses to the questions taken will be in the minutes. Okay? But he doesn't need to keep being asked the same question over and over again. He's said what he's going to do.
I've decided what I'm going to do now.
Okay. So is there further discussion? Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Ya Paulina, friends. Last week I stood on this Nanalini on Muanina Milathina. Cool Mangalina fell gently on my face. Namina whispered in the Tyratina as a pair of Karina soared through the Wurrunkili. Puna swept over Kunani to the west. To the east I looked to Timtimuli Minanya through the Lutha. I felt Petrula grow stronger in my belly. I may be a white wiper, but I takamuna riri in re. Tulana to Tulana with the original custodians of Nipaluna. When we say Mina today, the Panopiri will shine a little brighter tomorrow. To translate for those who don't speak Palawakani. Hello friends, welcome. Last week I stood on this hill, on this land. Cool rain fell gently on my face. Grass whispered in the wind as a pair of wedge-tailed eagles soared through the sky. Clouds swept over Mount Wellington to the west. To the east I looked to the River Derwent through the gum trees. I felt fire grow stronger in my belly. I may be a white man, but I stand hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with the original custodians of Hobart. When we say yes today, the sun will shine a little brighter tomorrow.
Any further discussion? Councillor Coates.
Look, thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm just on speaking to this motion. I think that at a broad principle, I encourage organisations to come forward with ideas because I think that's how you get good ones. That said, the processes of us as a city council, need to be as much as possible, obviously transparent and clear. We do go through an enormous amount of effort to formulate strategies and action plans and processes to be able to include a community and work ultimately to guide the work that we do on behalf of the community, and that obviously includes the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as much as they relate to the City of Hobart. In one sense, I'm saddened that the organisation is seeking for us to transfer this land. I would like to think that as a City of Hobart, we are actually good at custodians ourselves and able to help with facilities such as this in places, and we are actually a pretty good landowner for community facilities and places, and whether it's parks or commemorative structures or playgrounds or sports facilities that get used, I think the City of Hobart can actually be an active partner rather than just sort of disposing of land. But my main objection is that, we've actually gone through quite a big process of community engagement to develop the City of Hobart Cultural Safety Plan 2025-2028. And in that, we've actually got something that relates to what we're talking about. We've got there in the list of extensive deliverables to actually explore creating a place that honours truth-telling and Aboriginal people who fought in wars and provides a place of reflection and healing. And so, while I can appreciate that we have received this proposal, I'm actually reasonably comforted in the fact that us as a council have actually acknowledged that the need to sort of have that as an action, and it's something that, and I appreciate that's at 2025-2028, hasn't finished yet, but we did actually go out to the community, and we didn't just sort of have someone sit there one day and write all these things down. I don't know whether the Queen's Domain is the best place to have a place that honours truth-telling and Aboriginal people who fought in wars and provides a place of reflection and healing. But I do know that we did an inordinate amount of work with the Tasmanian Indigenous community in order to come up with these actions, and I think we just need to let that process sort of play out. Where it should be, what it should look like, who should be a partner in running a place to to honour the truth-telling and the people who fought in wars and provide that place of reflection and healing. And, you know, I know we've had proposals previously to have something down at Macquarie Point. We've now obviously got this proposal to do something in Queen's Domain, but, you know, it can be frustrating for those at times working with the local government sector that we perhaps don't move as quickly as what they would like. But, you know, we sort of go out to the community and do a big process around consultation. What are the actions? What are the things that we need to do as a community? We then say, okay, well, here's 3 years, you know, a long time frame. Here's a list of actions that we're going to progress. I think we just need to sort of let it happen. I'm also, you know, I am a little bit concerned sometimes when you get these sort of unsolicited ones. Well, one of the questions is, well, what else could that be used for? You know, should it be? Is that the best spot? What are the alternative uses? What are the means? And so, look, you know, I don't know what the answer will be, and inevitably it'll be a decision for those other than myself. Obviously, we've got a new council coming in from October, but you know, I think at some point we need to stand back and go. If we put our hands on our heart and say we want to work with you and develop a strategy, we've then got to actually let that play out, rather than just sort of. And I appreciate that they've come forward with a sort of plan, and I acknowledge the comments and the feedback and the investigation that the officers will do if this motion is supported tonight. But and look, it may be a level of hope for the community to say, look, we actually have thought about this before, and so yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have a few questions, Lord Mayor, just based on what some of the conversations that have and commentary that's gone around the chamber. I did go up there today and look at the access road for what Alderman Zuko is talking about. I just wanted to know the question with regards to an email that was sent by the General Manager of the Aboriginal Land Council, just with regards to open public access. Did the email actually say that they commit to having open public access through you, Chair, to the CEO?
CEO?
Thanks. Yeah, look, it's outlined in the report, but that's been their clear intent the whole way through the process.
Thank you. And just one more question, actually probably two more. Just with regards to any infrastructure, what was said in that particular email regarding existing road network and disturbed land?
Got it in front of me.
Okay, no worries. I'll ask you a final question then. Just with regards to working in partnership with the City of Hobart, is that the intent?
Yes, look, there's an intention to establish an MOU with our parks and reserves teams to be able to manage the land together, and obviously we would be able to learn from the practices of community in addition to our own practices. So that's certainly one of the cornerstones of a proposal that will come ultimately to the council.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? To say a couple of things. It's been a useful discussion, and I think what I'm hearing is a lot of general support for this really important proposal. And I just want to reiterate that what we are doing is making an agreement in principle. And at the start of any journey, you actually have to decide you're going to take that first step, and this is a first step, and it does require that us as the democratically elected leaders of the community make an in-principle decision, and then there is an absolute plethora of steps that have to be gone through before this process is finalised, and I'm sure it will be a subject of both really strong interest and engagement from the community, and I think that's all really good. That'll all be part of the learning process. It's important that we recognise that there are many people in the community who understand that the land this land was the Muwinina's people. This was the Muwinina's land. And when the British Army arrived here in 1804, there was never any treaty negotiated with the owners of the land, unlike the way the British operated in many other places, including Aotearoa, New Zealand, where there was a treaty and an understanding that the original inhabitants had rights and had some opportunity to have access to the land. There was rumoured to be a treaty negotiated after the Black War, but it was a verbal treaty with Governor Arthur and the warriors that returned from the Black War. And that did talk about land return and people being able to return from Flinders Island and come back and have land. Unfortunately, that was never written down. But, you know, I think it's important to note that our own master plan for the domain does recognise it as an Aboriginal cultural landscape. And that master plan's many years old, I think about 10 years old now. It notes that it was shaped over hundreds of generations through Aboriginal knowledge and fire management practices, and it recognises the important role of Aboriginal burning and creating and maintaining the open grassy woodland landscape that once characterised much of the areas around Hobart. And I really encourage people to go up there and have a look. It is a really important landscape that was very, very common right around Hobart, and that happened because Aboriginal people managed it in that way. And the archaeological evidence from around the domain demonstrates a long and deep connection of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people to this place. It was a place of gathering, camping, hunting, food collection, cultural practice, and it may have also been one of the last places occupied by the Muanina people, with Aboriginal records of Aboriginal families continuing to camp on the domain into the 1820s. And so, you know, I think this is a really important vision, and it will need allies. We will need to work together with the state government, with the Aboriginal Land Council. There are a lot of steps, and I am concerned how long this process will take, and I hope the CEO and his committee are able to really draw on the goodwill, particularly of our Aboriginal Affairs Minister in Bridget Archer, the Aboriginal Land Council, and all members of the community that see that having a cultural centre or a cultural learning place in a really key Aboriginal landscape is a really important step in our city's history. It would be the first land handback in Tasmania in 2 decades. It'd be the first time a local government has done this. And I understand it might also be the first Australian capital city to return land. So it is Hobart leading. And of course, in any process, you can come across blockers. And then there's the blockers and there's the builders. We've heard about them before, remember, but I'm going to flip that because what we're building here is something really special, something that is respectful, that is interesting, that is a significant milestone in acknowledging our history. And I think it's something that we can all be really proud of, but I'm also very aware there's many, many steps to go. And this is just the beginning of a really important journey. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour?
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Pasilt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor, Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates. Motion's carried.
That's carried. Okay, we're now moving on to our next item. If people are wanting to leave, that they can just leave quietly now. We're moving on to our next item, which is item 12, and it's about a risk and audit panel.
Yeah, I might move it because as a member of the risk and audit panel, and also some of the changes that we have in the revised reference actually came from myself. So
looking to the second. Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, it was a generic review, but the primary change was as a result of just an experience that we had as participating in the meetings. Councillor Elliott and myself are the 2 elected members who get to represent council. And it was interesting to note that if both of us were unable to attend, that didn't actually fail quorum. which meant that we actually had one meeting where I think both of us were sick or something happened that both of us, the only time it ever happened, both of us couldn't attend, and I discovered that that meeting still got to be held. And I was concerned because I felt that we do have a genuine role to be witness to that, the procedure and process in that room. It's a very important part that we play, and yet discovered that in fact we weren't considered to be important enough to maintain a quorum. So we had spent quite some time discussing how to do that, and this was the terms of reference they came up with to actually suggest that this would actually allow us to have a presence. It wouldn't necessarily be us, so if the two nominated people could not attend, we could actually nominate a proxy to have someone else from this room actually go along and represent council. So it was really just to make sure that we always have a council presence in that room. So that's the major one that Councillor Elliott and I had put forward. The only other thing I think in there particularly was that they wanted to revise the terms of reference regarding more of our day-to-day things being brought into that room. The other participants preferred not to do that. They wanted to mostly deal with the things that they had at hand to do already with the generic risk and audit panel procedures. I think they also wanted to change that we don't just look at the high risk audit elements, but we actually look at more of a generic broad field of risk as well. So I felt it was actually a very good and mature way of looking at things. I don't think that this actually even comes into play for us particularly until I think next term, I think. But the whole point was it was just a review, and these were some changes that we felt would be good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. It's carried unanimously. Item 13 is professional development reporting. Moved by Councillor Posselt, seconded by Councillor Lohberger. Any discussion? Received and noted. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. We're now moving on to motions, and we are going to a motion transforming Collins Street trial safety issues. My understanding is this one was first considered in January. Councillor Elliott, and was referred to a workshop.
Yes, that's right. It was referred to a workshop, but unfortunately that workshop happened while I was suspended. So I actually don't even know, which is unfortunate timing.
Okay, so you've moved it. We need a seconder for your motion. Seconder, Councillor Alderman Zucker.
Thank you. So I have no idea what was discussed in the workshop because I wasn't there, and it is a shame that it was scheduled. My motion was scheduled for consideration in a workshop knowing that I wouldn't be there. But anyway, I plan to say still. So the issues in Collins Street haven't gone away. The situation with the buses being unable to turn at the corner have improved slightly now that we've scrubbed out our homework and moved the line back, the stopping line back a couple of times. I do have a big question around how on earth we could have implemented that design to start with, how it wasn't on our radar that buses need to be able to navigate this corner, and maybe we should make sure that they can do so without blocking an intersection. There's massive issues with the lack of drop-off zones. I drive down Collins Street frequently, and every trip you see someone either pulled up outside the cinema, in the bike lane, unable because they're dropping off kids. It's often elderly people, and there's cars pulled off in the bike lane just so that people can go about their day safely, because a lot of people aren't able to have mobility issues, whether they're aged, frail, unwell, young, birthday parties. So there's people being forced to use the bike lanes for parking so that they can access the cinema and also the old Habitat, I can't remember what it's called now, but the homeware store in Collins Street. Multiple times I've seen people parked on the bus stop outside the old Habitat, at least 3 times, and I don't blame them because that bus stop in the middle of the road is actually a complete embarrassment. It's achieving the purpose of slowing down traffic. you have to wait now at that intersection for at least probably 3 cycles of traffic lights because either there's the bus in the way, literally in the middle of the road, stopped, and the scramble crossings mean that only now around 3 cars on average get through that. So I do understand that one of the council's goals has been to frustrate drivers so that they avoid Collins Street, and in some ways it's been a real success. People are definitely frustrated. I also have received emails from members of the community and also medical professionals that are based on Collins Street, where people, and a lot of them are elderly people, are tripping on the concrete bollards, and I've been sent the photos of a destroyed collarbone and an elderly lady with big lacerations on her hands and arms, her hands and knees. People are tripping on those bollards, and I do really genuinely question whether they should be there, given drivers are driving over the top of them because they can't drop off, so they're already disintegrating. I saw them today and the concrete's coming apart. Why can't we just have some of those flexible, those flexi poles instead that provide the separation? Because they're a trip hazard, and I asked at the last workshop around the number of injuries we've had, because I've had at least reports of 4, and I'm encouraging people to sue the council for that, because it's an unfair risk, and I think it's actually negligent to be doing that when there are safer alternatives and people are hurting themselves. I also have concerns around the pedestrian crossing, because even today I was standing at Collins Street with my 2 young kids, and I could see the car was coming down there, and I knew they weren't going to stop, and sure enough they didn't. They went straight through, because it's just not, the signage isn't prominent enough. And maybe it's the glare on the road, maybe it's that it's slightly raised, but we need more signage on that pedestrian crossing, because the pedestrians might be getting more confident that it's there, but a lot of road users still aren't expecting it there. So all in all, I maintain that there's serious safety concerns with Collins Street. Not only safety, but also the access. We're meant to be around making sure that this Hobart is a city for all. And what's happened with Collins Street is the polar opposite of that. People are actually being pushed out of our city in terms of, like I said, enjoying the cinema, kids, elderly people. People are hurting themselves. In comparison, I would hypothesise that more people have been hurt post the separated bike lanes because of the tripping and whatever else than were hurt in the previous period when they were actually on a bike. So I'll be taking it offline further, the injuries that have happened, but anyone listening, if you've been hurt, I encourage you to sue the council.
Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Dutta.
Just 2 questions through you to the chair. Firstly, have we received any injury reports from the public with regards to what we have heard? And secondly, the second question is, are there any people out there who have already sued the council with regards to this matter?
I think the CEO's referred it to Director Abey.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. To answer your second question, Councillor Dutta, I'm not aware of the council being sued by anybody. We have done comprehensive reporting. We've most recently released our 1-year trial report on the Collins Street trial, and we have indicated lots of issues relating to various issues, including safety. We are aware of some incidents involving pedestrians. To answer your question on the fly, Councillor Elliott, we are aware of 7 incidents involving pedestrians. That's out of about 2.5 pedestrian movements along Collins Street over the same period. So 7 does sound like a high number, and we prefer that with 0, but given the number of people that have moved along the street, that is perhaps in context. We will do some further work around that number.
Sorry. Ms Abey, can you just clarify, because I think you said that there were 2.5 pedestrians in Collins Street.
Sorry, Lord Mayor. 2.5 million.
2.5 million pedestrian movements in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, further discussion.
Lord Mayor,
Councillor
just to
Hubbard.
clarify, so all of the dot points that were mentioned that needed to be looked at have now been resolved. Is that correct? We've completed the additional works to improve the situation with relation to what was mentioned in the motion. Is that true?
Councillor Director Abey, I'm getting distracted.
Through you, Lord Mayor, yes, there were 3 specific issues raised in the notice of motion. Each of those, well, the one was to do with the hold line for buses that has been moved. The other was to do with the exit from Victoria Street, moving from one lane to 2. And the third was around drop-off points. And in the response to that issue, we highlighted the fact that there were surrounding points where pedestrians could be dropped off, albeit the one that Councillor Elliott referred to in the motion was removed.
So the motion is now superfluous. I might move that the motion be received and noted because all the work has been completed. Is that appropriate? No? So what are we asking for in the motion? To look at it again?
Well, I think you can
It's all been completed. What's the purpose of the motion?
It still stands as a motion. You could vote against it if you don't agree with...
No, well, it's all been done. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to clarify
I'll
how
ask
you deal with the
I'll ask
motion
for
that's
some
been
advice,
completed
sorry.
already.
So your choices, Councillor Harvey, are to either move a procedural motion that the motion be put now so that there's no further discussion, or you could move an amendment, a different amendment, get a seconder, and we'd have to discuss that amendment.
Well,
and it couldn't be contrary to the actual motion.
Okay, so I can't just move an amendment that it be received and noted because we've already completed the actions.
Yeah. Councillor Posselt was up first, I think.
Fast track it right. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, as much I'm always interested in providing the best infrastructure we can for all users, and I do agree that there are some unsatisfactory elements of the Collins Street trial, including the bike lane dividers, which I've consistently raised as a problem. They are a hazard for cyclists, and I don't fully understand why we haven't used an off-the-shelf product that's designed for bike lanes. These exist through saferoads.com.au, through Caterpillar. There's a whole range of bollarded options that are bolt-in with flappy poles on it, and they're designed for bikes. The key difference to them for the cyclists is that the separators that we've used have quite a strong vertical edge, quite a high vertical edge, which is enough to trip up particularly a road bike, but actually it's enough to trip up a mountain biker. It's big enough. These other cycling specific designs have a much more tapered edge, which allows, if for whatever reason a bike has to swerve to avoid a pedestrian, as pedestrians are frequently found in these bike lanes, they swerve onto a ramp. They don't swerve into a hard stop like a gutter. So I think it's important to be transparent and open. I'm fully supportive of the Collins Street trial, but I do think that we need to do a little bit better listening to the community with regards to this trial and what is and isn't working. There's requests to make the stop box at Murray Street much larger for cyclists, which would allow people to exit the bike lane from stage 3 of Collins Street, exit the bike lane and get in front of the cars to turn right. At present, there's no mechanism to turn right. There's blend issues with cyclists, with cars turning across cyclists as they head down the bike lane. It happened to me the last time I was on Collins Street. A car turned immediately across me while I was riding, and then had the audacity to tell me that I was the problem despite having children with me. There are elements of this trial that need to be adjusted, and I appreciate 12 months have passed, but it's time that we start listening to the community for what adjustments we need, particularly as it pertains to cycling safety. If the project which we have designed specifically to protect and encourage cyclists is causing accidents, we need to understand why and to adjust that, the design, or to adjust the elements that we've used in this project. In addition to that, Councillor Elliott's motion talks to Victoria Street. When we signed off on this project, we were told that Victoria Street would be considered for two-way, and then it slowly got watered back to we can't actually do that because it's too expensive. Some of the traffic queuing is a product of Victoria Street not being two-way. We know, like, it's very clear. So I would propose an amendment that a report be returned to the council investigating, again, Victoria Street being made two-way in the next financial year, so the 27-28 financial year, in order to actually address what we're seeing on Collins Street and to make this project a success.
Okay, so that's an amendment. It would need a seconder.
It's a report.
There's no... Councillor Dutta. Okay, so we'll discuss the amendment now of a report on Collins Street. On Victoria Street. Any discussion on this? I'm just gonna suspend the conversation about the actual motion.
Yeah, this is on the amendment.
Yeah, on the amendment.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just till we deal with that.
Look, thank you. Look, just very quickly on the amendment, and this will echo the comments I'll shortly make on the main motion once the amendment is dealt with. But yeah, I think the amendment speaks specifically to a solution. The item in front of us today, I was similar to Councillor Harvey when I was reading it, was what were the outcomes here. But clearly in the financial implications, the officers have indicated a report is proposed to be produced as a response to this motion. So, I think inevitably that report will inform actions that the future council from October can take, which may well include looking at two ways of Victoria Street, but I think putting that as a specified motion amendment in now is perhaps too early. And I think the issues around safety and the numbers we've heard speak to the informed one, but I just believe that the amendment at this time is not necessary.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Please.
Yeah, Lord Mayor, I put a motion up, 3 meetings ago, I think 3 meetings ago, in regards to safety in general across the board, which is going to a workshop. Lord Mayor.
Councillor Coates and Councillor Posselt, if you need to talk, maybe leave the room.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Which is going to a workshop. And I just want to highlight this point about motions, and there's been some speculation, there's been a bit of comment in and around the media around motions. This is what happens when we've got a motion, goes to a workshop, comes back, the proponent is not there to speak to the aspects of the motion, and it comes back, and surprisingly, what the motion brought forward, parts of it have been enacted. I want to just hope that whatever happens at the next...
Sorry, Alderman Zuko, can you speak to the amendment,
I'm speaking
please?
to the amendment.
Okay, good.
Councillor Posselt, please, I want to be corrected. Councillor Posselt was talking about this motion coming back during the next council, is that correct?
No.
No? I thought that were the words used. I must have heard differently.
Would you like me to clarify?
Clarify, please.
So the proposal was that a report be prepared on making Victoria Street two-way for the 27-28 financial year.
27-28 financial year, which is, Lord Mayor, the next council. Okay, so we're referring to the next council, we're not referring to this council at this point in time. So we're talking about the future. Right? Also, I have no doubt that in the future, my motion about the safety hazards we have across the city will come back after the council elections. I doubt it. It'll be here right now. Considering that amendment is going to be coming back, and I'm talking to the amendment coming back in the future. Maybe in the future we should consider the way we bring motions and amendments up to council. Because if we had a committee structure, we wouldn't be sitting here discussing this after it went to a workshop and the person in question wasn't there. So maybe the future council could give consideration to that when they consider Councillor Posselt's motion. So I spoke to the amendment, Lord Mayor. Look, insofar as the other aspects of the amendment, I have no issues with that being looked at as part of a report, but maybe we need to sort of sit in the future about the overall aspects of not only Victoria Street, but are there any other reasons why we have issues in Collins Street that create problems in Victoria Street? So on that basis, because I want to see the overall picture of Collins, Victoria and every other street that's there that creates problems. So I can't support just one specific street. It needs to be broader.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on the amendment.
I've got a question, Lord Mayor. Through you to the Director, when's the next part of this reporting process happening? Through you to the CEO.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the next report will be done at the 2-year mark at the end of the trial.
Which is?
In approximately 1 year.
Approximately 1 year. Okay, so this report will be a standalone report. It won't be part of that report, it'll be another report, an additional report on the trial. All right, how many?
Okay, Councillor. All right, if there's any further discussion on the amendment, just on the amendment, Councillor Dutton.
I just want to make 3 points from what I've heard. Firstly, there was definitely statements made from the Director that there are issues which are problematic. And it's good to be aware of that and accept that, and I think that is an important aspect. Point number 2, Councillor Posselt, someone who is a realist and someone who uses his bicycle every time I see him, he also has mentioned about the problems and issues. And thirdly, having also the points made by Councillor Elliott, these are problems that they're bringing, not out of some fanciful thinking, but they have had concerns drawn to them, and therefore it's here in front of us. Taking that into consideration, I supported the motion for debate purposes. And I think it is important that we extend the report, but it is simply a report, that's all it is. And we constantly ask our officers for reports, and I'm sure that they will be able to amalgamate it and intersect with other reports and bring this to us at a later date instead of just a standalone. And the final comment I want to make is this, that I had some experience in the last term of committees. It was not very, very effective, hence we changed. Maybe it's time to go back, that's a new council to decide, but it was not effective. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on the amendment,
yes, look,
Councillor
I'd
Kelly.
like to echo Alderman Zuko's comments. Look, still just looking at one little portion, here's probably a good time to hit the reset on a few more things, you know, not only the bottom side of Victoria, why not the top bit? Are there any other little nuances we can look at and fix up? Look, a bit disappointing that perhaps some of these most basic things, I believe, i.e. the bollards and the tripping points and all that, weren't really discussed. I mean, there's a road, there's footpaths, cars and bikes. We had infinitesimal data given after the event, but it's all there now. It been going for a year or so, and I just see this as just messing around the edges a little bit more here, but I'd support it if it was going to be amended to say the part of Victoria Street that is mentioning, but perhaps a greater reset on other issues that need addressing.
Okay, I'm going to put the amendment. Yes.
Just as we've been modifying this project, this trial, as we have been going, haven't we? There's been changes made on a regular basis.
There has, yes.
So there still could be changes made on a regular basis as required through officer input, correct?
Yes.
So we don't need a big report, we just need to continue the process of constant improvement.
Yes.
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 Yes, so we don't need a report.
Well, no, that's trying to bring me into the debate.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, we're just generating more and more work.
Just, what is it, Councillor?
Well, just a question on the minor tinkering that Councillor Harvey's responding to as In relation to the trial,
Councillor Posselt,
the question,
sorry,
yeah, the question.
It's not a question to you,
The,
so
no,
could you sit
no,
down?
the question in relation to that is Victoria Street going two-way actually considered as part of the adjustments of
Councillor Posselt, you have spoken.
I'm asking the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is Victoria Street going two-way considered to be as part of the adjustments, you know, changing bollards and things like that?
Okay, get it. See ya.
No, it would be a significant change, and obviously we would need to do a specific report on it.
State government probably too. Okay, all those in favour of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Councillor Dutta. Councillor Posselt.
And against?
Deputy Lord Mayor.
I'm sorry, and against now, thank you.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Loberger, Councillor Kelly, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Lord Mayor. The motion is, the amendment is lost, Lord Mayor.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion as it stands? Councillor Alderman Bloomfield.
Look, I just had a question. We've kind of, the way we've looked at this, I kind of see a motion as being a set of instructions given to council if we approve it. If the set of instructions have in fact already been complied with, if we were simply to approve it, we're simply just allowing the set of instructions that have already been done to do. So therefore, already completed, it'd be perfectly fine just to accept this motion and just approve it.
Any further discussion on this motion?
Yeah, Lord Mayor, and this is the point I was trying to make before. This motion came on the 27th of January. Had the council proceeded down the pathway of accepting the motion at that point in time, it would have been approved. Yes, okay, it's gone on workshop. Maybe some things have been done. At the end of the day, this motion deserved to have been approved in 27th of January. It should be approved tonight, irrespective of whether or not the work's been completed or not. So, you know, we need to at least give some decency, and we talk about respect to the fact that this motion highlighted issues that have been rectified since. And there are still issues now to be rectified.
Okay, any further discussion? I will say a few words because I just wondered whether elected members may have read the 23-page engagement report, public engagement report, that was provided to us like a couple of weeks ago. And unlike just, you know, the people that have come to us, and all of that is very legitimate. Of course, we've got to listen to the views of people that raise issues with us, but we should also focus on when positive things are noted with us and when a process that's arm's length from us that involves 510 people filling in a survey, letters sent to 146 businesses, property owner letters sent to 93 property owners, a Facebook post, Your Say users registration notification to fill in the form, fill in the survey. Postcards 750 postcards were distributed to businesses. There were intercept surveys, 3 of them. So for 1.5 hours, with a few, like in the morning and the lunchtime, staff went and actually talked to real people walking down the street. There were also business visits between 10 and 4 p.m. on the 1st of June, and there were drop-in sessions. So, you know, we talk about, we've got to do more consultation. Well, what an amazing piece of work. We did do consultation, and if we're going to be talking about safety issues, we should also balance it with the things that people liked. And I appreciate that it's good that there are safety issues being picked up and they're being addressed. And similarly, I'm hopeful that elected members and staff are really taking notice of the things that people are observing about it. It's very overwhelming results about how that people feel very safe walking down Collins Street. There's pretty good results from the cyclists, and there was an increase of 15% in people cycling along Collins Street. There's also been an increase in pedestrians. People are saying that they really want to keep which of the trial installations would you like to see made permanent? We had 250 people say they want to keep the separated cycle lanes. 273 said they wanted to have lower speed limits. 236 want a new zebra crossing, or to keep the zebra crossing, the new zebra crossing. 246 want to keep the street fountains and greening. 226 want to keep the street side dining. And 134 people want to keep none. And 35 people want to keep the extra parking spaces. So, look, I mean, again, we can focus always on the negative, or we can also focus on the other side of the story. When our staff do a really incredible engagement process, it's really, we should respect that by at least reading it and reflecting on it, and not just seeing this all in the negative. Because yes, I think there are safety issues. I think they have been largely addressed. Let's also acknowledge the positive feedback that we're getting about this as well. Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour?
Alderman Zuko. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Passelt, Alderman Bloomfield, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Kelly. Did I miss anyone?
And against?
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Harvey, Lord Mayor. The motion.
That's carried. Okay, we'll move on now to item 15, which is winter relief for outdoor dining licence fees from Alderman Zuko.
Yeah, Lord Mayor, I just
need
move
a
the
seconder
motion.
for this. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Lord Mayor, look, I think we all know what happened most recently, but it's not just about what happened to that set of businesses. There's a lot of other businesses that I am aware of that are struggling in our city, particular hospitality. We can go to North Hobart, we can go to Salamanca, we can go to the city, we can go to just about anywhere, and you'll find that there is some serious issues. And I bumped into one business the other day and said tourism is just about dropped off. At the end of the day, though, Lord Mayor, we continually charge for outdoor space, and I've had a number of conversations with people in the music industry. There's two in particular that regularly send me messages, and I have conversations. They are struggling as well. I've got to say, and I thank the council when we went down the pathway of having live music in Salamanca on trial, and now it's permanent. Maybe it's time to probably extend that out to other areas, but I'm not sort of putting that up at this point in time. It's something that might come forward, and I'm sure it won't come forward before the election, and hopefully, if I'm not elected, I will lobby other elected members to pursue that. This is basically to see if we can have a 12-month trial on next winter to give the opportunity to establishments that have got the outdoor licences, to give them an opportunity to have a little bit of relief during the most difficult times in the hospitality industry of the years, and there is. I've been in the game for a long, long time. I still know a lot of people in the game, and they do struggle during the winter months. Considering that the winter months are sort of part through, the other part of the motion is to at least give them some relief during August, September and October, because I assure you August and September is not as busy as what a lot of people think it is, It's October, November, December when it really starts. So hopefully we can assist in that way. Cost-wise, of course, Lord Mayor, there's going to be some cost, but is it a direct cost to council, or is it just a remission of fees that we get for this space? We've got to remember, if there wasn't an occupation licence on that space, the council wouldn't be getting any rent for that particular part of the footpath. So it's only because it's been used for an occupation licence we are getting rent for it. If we walk down any street and there's no occupation licence, well, we're getting zero. So to me, it's actually a bonus to this city that people want to use the outdoor spaces and pay what I consider a premium for it. I did a little bit of research, and there is cities around the country that don't charge outdoor space. So we are getting what I consider a bonus for that outdoor space. And I want to say to you, I remember some little Italian bloke in North Hobart many years ago who put some tables and chairs outside and got the wrath of the Hobart City Council at the time, which resulted in the first outdoor space in North Hobart. But mind you, it was very difficult to get it through at the time because the council at the time didn't have a policy, which was very difficult. But that little Italian fella won the battle at the time. Lord Mayor, I don't want to take up much more time, but this is about next year, and this is also about doing something immediately. I consulted with the THA, and as you can see by the media release by the THA, they are supportive of the proposal in the second paragraph. And also, in doing so, is that our CEO delegate further with the hospitality industry. If there's anything else that the CEO can bring back to us. As you well know, we had a workshop most recently in regards to the nighttime economy. 30 seconds, is that 30 seconds? Nighttime economy, in which I arranged the meeting and didn't attend that meeting specifically because I wanted the industry to speak to the CEO. I just hope the elected members will support something like this. It's only a small amount of money in a short time and hopefully helps down the path and what the CEO might bring back. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councillor Dutta.
Lord Mayor, I just realised, and I'm sorry about this, that this is about outdoor dining and I have a conflict. Sorry about that.
Councillor Harvey.
Yes.
Lord Mayor, may I ask a question? I'm not being difficult here. If Councillor Dutta is associated with a business that has outdoor dining...
It's his choice.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay.
Councillor Harvey.
So, Lord Mayor, just my rudimentary maths at work here. So the city currently has 135 businesses with outdoor dining permits. So this is about outdoor dining. So the amount we're talking about here is about $31,000. Is that correct? If they all got discounts, so that's about $230 each.
It's 82. It's in the report.
Yeah.
Councillor.
What's the numbers again?
82,500.
Okay. Where did I miss that bit? Because I look at.
It's at the back of the report.
Okay. I was looking at the
financial
officer's response, which I saw 31,000. Oh no, there it is. There. Okay. So the estimated fees collected through outdoor dining permits for 26-27 is in the order of $330,000 per annum. For the proposed 3-month period, that equates to $82,500 in income that we would forego. So that would be a grant. How would we acquit that grant? Would it be to every single one of those businesses and that would go in the annual report, or would it be a lump sum? It's just a question.
Thanks. No, look, it wouldn't be considered a grant. We're talking about a remission of fees, I think would be the best approach, but maybe that's one for Michelle to be able to answer.
Through you, Lord Mayor, we could look at putting them in as a, recognise it as a, not a grant, but we could definitely put it in as a remission of the fee.
Because that's how we work, I think, with all other in-kind support as well, that goes into the, not in-kind support, but funding that's allocated
Waiving fees.
towards things.
Yeah.
Waiving fees. It does go into the annual report on the list of grants that we've given out.
Further discussion, Alderman Bloomfield.
I'm a bit confused with the current conflict declared, because there's number 19 that's coming up that's also on the same topic. And the reason I mention that is quite material, because there was actually a point in that one that I'd actually personally had inserted that actually talked about not just your fee relief, which is something that I do feel is really a fair call, but it actually went a little bit broader, because there's actually a grant process that council has applied every year, and we've done it on digital IT recognition and things like that over the time, where we have modules of educational equivalent that should businesses choose to do, they can then get a grant up to $8,500 in an area which they would actually genuinely need. And we could actually repurpose those modules into modules that actually directly address the issues that this industry is currently facing. And the reason I mention that is that I'm really concerned that we're just kind of like throwing money to solve a problem, but I don't think we're going to solve the problem. Because what was really fascinating with the workshop were the numbers that were supplied, showing that the growth in the industry over 15 years was practically flatlining, and was nowhere near the growth in CPI, and absolutely nowhere near the growth in wages, which means that their industry is folding in on itself. The ability to be profitable has fallen over. They have to learn very quickly now to morph, change, innovate. And I would like to think that we could have this type of grant process to actually lead that, find the elements of education and support that we could actually bring to them and say, well, this is a way of actually reprocessing your model, because no longer are they coming in for a beer, perhaps your client base is different. All these pieces that have changed the way people do business in this aspect, which have hurt them profoundly, which is what we have seen. I would like to see perhaps if we could fold that single element that was in that number 19 into this one as part of the report process and assessment process. I'd be much appreciative if I could put that forward as an amendment, please. You were literally taking the number 19 and you're looking at, where is it? Point 2, to review the Council's current digital growth business grants program to identify whether changes can be made to better support the retail. That piece there, if we could have an amendment, please, and fold that into number 15, because then we actually give a little bit more breadth for the report that comes back, because then it would be more than just giving money. It would actually be saying, we actually have an absolute swag of things that we could do to support the industry, and I think it's important enough that we could actually consider that if the move of the motion would accept that amendment, please.
Can I answer that?
Alderman Zuko, what was your...
Look, Lord Mayor, and I'm not being difficult. The reason why I'm not going to accept it, I need to explain, right? That I was very specific with point 5, in that the Chief Executive Officer is delegated to further consult with both the hospitality industry and local musicians as per other mechanisms the Council may undertake to assist the sector and report back to Council as soon as possible. That point is there specifically for the industry to tell us what they need, rather than we tell the industry what they need.
Okay, thanks, Alderman.
I have consulted with the first part, but we haven't consulted with any other part.
Okay, so that's no. So, Alderman Bloomfield, is there a seconder for your amendment?
Well, I'm open to a seconder. I haven't actually requested anyone to do so.
No, that's right. Is there a seconder for Alderman Bloomfield's amendment? Councillor Posselt. Okay, we'll now vote. If people could just be a little bit conscious of the time and the business we've got to get through, do you want to speak to Alderman Bloomfield's amendment?
Anyone? Try it again.
one more time.
It's in. It's already in another motion, Councillor Harvey, in motion number 19.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
I'm
page
looking at motion
75.
15 at the moment.
Councillor Dutter's motion, which second part of his motion. So there's a couple of motions that are similar on the agenda.
Yeah. Can I ask a question though before we
Yeah.
go anywhere? What's the impact of these two motions on our nighttime economy work? Should we be rolling all this into the nighttime economy piece? It's going to be quite a substantial piece, rather than have all these new separate things coming at us.
CEO.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Yes, I mean, so if the motions are successful, or one of the motions is successful, then we'd certainly be rolling them into the broader work that we're doing, and considering that, and obviously the reports that we would need to prepare as part of the motion. We would be silly not to be trying to incorporate the broader work into that as well.
And that would also include the live music piece we're working on as well.
Yeah, subject to timing, that's going to take a little while.
Okay, so if we'd like to vote on Alderman Bloomfield's amendment to go into this Alderman Zuko's motion.
I wasn't going to speak against it. Well, I'm going to speak, Lord Mayor, and I'll speak against only on this basis here. My motion's very, very specific for some immediate help and for future help. The amendment is about us going down the pathway of saying to the hospitality industry, oh, these are things you can do. I believe that the motion in itself originally is about the CEO going down the pathway of saying to the industry, what do you want as an industry? What else can we do? And I think that's where we probably had a little bit of an issue with the nighttime economy one. Let's listen to the industry first, and let's act to their needs, right? And that's the reason why I can't support it, because I believe it's there in number 5.
Okay, I'll put the Alderman Bloomfield's motion. All those in favour say aye. Against say no. Show of hands, all those in favour. There being no support, will... Oh. Against, sorry.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Paselch, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor. The amendment is lost.
Okay, that's lost, so we'll move on to the, back to the substantive motion. Councillor Posselt.
Yeah, Lord Mayor, Councillor Dutton recusing himself from this piece just raises some questions for me. The putter of this motion owns property with outdoor dining, and there's another elected member in the room that owns property with outdoor dining. And I'm just wondering if there's any advice.
No, it's the decision of the elected member.
Right. I don't think it passes the pecuniary interest test, so I can put that out there and say that I'm not convinced that it does if you own property that has outdoor dining and you're asking for fee relief specific to your the people that rent your buildings. I'm not sure you should be in the room. I would suggest that this we defer this item to workshop, or we get a report for item 1 so that the whole thing is wrapped up in a comprehensive report from staff, Lord Mayor. And the reason for doing that is that there are a range of issues that this suggestion provokes. So firstly, it's great to support live music. No doubt about that. Is this the best way to support live music? I don't know, because I don't have any other information other than what's been requested here, which is somewhat similar to the rationale that was used to vote against Victoria Street going two-way with the previous motion, which was that, well, we didn't look at all of the options, so we won't vote for that one. This one gives us one suggestion, and it hasn't gone to workshop to discuss. Well, maybe other elected members have good ideas about how we can support the live music industry outside of fee waivers for outdoor dining. Now, secondly to that, this raises really serious equity issues within the hospitality community, right? So not everyone has outdoor dining. And there's some really, really great venues that do not have outdoor dining but provide great live music. So why are we giving one operator, because they already have a competitive advantage having outdoor dining, a fee waiver, but not offering the same opportunity to someone who supports live music inside? And they have a natural disadvantage because they don't have that outdoor space, right? On a nice sunny day, summer evening, people want to sit outside, and not all venues can provide that for a range of reasons. So it's inequitable at the very least, and it's too narrow as well. So I think that there's not enough information. There's also really significant financial, well, not as significant as a later motion, but there is some financial cost to doing this. Could that money be directed better into another intervention? We don't know. So I'm happy if the mover of the motion is happy to put that we request a report into a 12-month trial, then I'm happy to support this and we'll get a report back to vote on it. But while ever remains implement a 12-month trial, I cannot support it. If the mover wants to indicate that he'd like it shifted to workshop, then I'm happy to facilitate that as well. But I can't support something that is inequitable and this narrow with financial implications this evening.
Councillor Kelly.
The only thing narrow, I think, is the small-mindedness of some people at this table.
Councillor Kelly, that's a very clear personal reflection and not the kind of language we're trying to encourage. Focus on the issue, please.
The issue is we currently have 10 hotels in Hobart boarded up. We've got the last 7 from the pub bank, the Brisbane's broken glass graffiti boarded up for years, the Ocean Child and the Duke of Wellington. What more evidence do we need that this industry is in big trouble? 7 of those 10 just recently. For us to pontificate over this and have more workshops and all that, and so far I just do not get the logic of how this is discriminatory or unfair to other businesses. Where do you stop that notion of an argument like that? This is an industry that we espouse to having all these great things of nighttime economy and live music and all these things. And we're saying at the most crucial time right now, going into the grip of winter still and onto the quiet time, we'll have to think about it. And all the while, we've upped the rates. Where this industry is, it's been gouged from every single corner of society as far as that. Yet we all want to have the happy times there. Councillor Coates and myself were on a mission last night to look at what nighttime venues are about, and there's only one operating last night in the whole of Hobart, New Sydney, and they don't get any assistance, nothing like that. One venue in a capital city in our fantastic winter, come to Hobart in winter time, and that's it. The place was packed, and it just goes to show there is an appetite for that, and you know, we've just got to try and get it. I can understand people who've never been in private enterprise, who've never put anything on the line, who've got a nice, comfortable government job, work one day a week and all that sort of thing. That's fine, but these are people who are putting their heart and soul into it. The margins are slim, and anything we can be doing to help with this industry in its hour of need, we should be doing it. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Look, I fully appreciate what Alderman Zuko has said, and most certainly appreciate what Councillor Kelly has tried to express, and also do concur with what Councillor Posselt has attempted to do. And in light of that, I would like to just put that, can we put that as a deferral motion? Is that a procedural motion that we can just put that?
You're allowed to.
I'd like to put that it's deferred to workshop. Thank you. I think that was a good suggestion made.
Is there a seconder for that? Alderman Bloomfield. So that's a procedural motion. We'll vote on that straight away. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour?
Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko. Councillor Elliott. Councillor Coates. Councillor Kelly. Is it procedural motion is carried?
Okay, so that's carried. So that will come to a workshop for further discussion of the design of that idea. We're going to go to item 16, Alderman Zuko.
I'm just wondering.
Point of order. I was just waiting on.
Oh yeah, Councillor Dutter's got to come back. Yeah. Seconder for Alderman Zuko's motion. Wait for the Councillor. Move.
Can I move it, Lord Mayor?
Yeah. Moved by Alderman Zuko.
Yeah, I'll move the item, Lord Mayor.
Seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor.
I'm just wondering whether or not I just move procedural motion to move it to workshop, because, you know, all my last motions that I put forward in this chamber have been deferred to workshops. You know, the previous motion was to take action in accordance to support by the industry itself, and here, again, in consultation with the business sector, screaming about getting people back into the city, and I've done that again in consultation with the business sector. I just wonder if it's worth my while even trying to put the motion forward and speak to it, because I find it absolutely concerning that we're not taking our business sector very, very seriously. The motion before us is not just about, you know, some words that I've written. This is something I've been doing and undertaking for quite a number of years to try and stimulate this city. I understand we're going down the pathway of looking at what we can do for parking and whatever have you to our city. Most recently, we wanted to go for 24-hour car parking at the Argyle Street car park, but we've got a car park 2 minutes away, and I find it strange. This motion is basically about only one action at this point in time, and then to look at the discussion paper. So I'm hoping that maybe people will understand that the discussion papers are not what we're going to actually agree on. That's for something for a workshop, potentially. But I'm seeking to get the approval for the first hour free car parking for off-street parking from 1 to 2 hours, and that a further report come back in regards to everything like this, which could go to a workshop. I don't care, it's fine. But I just want one action tonight. Let's give some relief, immediate relief, to our businesses in Hobart. People might say, well, have I costed it? Well, I'll just explain something to people, and I've got this in an email from council officers. So I've done my research. I've got all the research. On a Sunday, the extra hour costs the council $3 an hour. Like, really? Multiplied by the amount of cars there, is it going to be a lot of money? I don't think so. Well, I've got the email. I'm not going to talk to it, because I've gone through a process of getting all the information, particularly from the Argyle Street car park. During the week, it's $6. Would cost us for the second hour. Right? And I want to explain something about shopping and people wanting to do something in the CBD. You drive in, you're on the timer. By the time you get your car parked, you're on the timer. By the time you get it out of the car park, you're on the timer. You're already roughly approximately 10 minutes by the time you get to the central part of the CBD, maybe even longer. Then you've got to go and do something, right? Let's say you're going to the dentist. Okay, you sit there and you wait, and your dental appointment might be 10 minutes later, and you might have to wait and wait and wait. For someone that wanted to go there for a quick hour to do some dentistry or whatever have you, And then they have to walk back to the car, pay and get out. Like, 1 hour is really not enough time if we want to entice people to come and shop. We did have 1.5 hours for years, and again at that time I pushed for longer. So really, as I'm trying to say, look, you know, to me, I'm saying to myself, am I wasting my time trying to put things forward to help our business community of this city that are struggling? And am I wasting my time to try and entice those people that go to Eastlands and park for 3 hours for free? Or Glenorchy? Because that's our competition. I can recall one elected member years ago, I'm not going to mention any names, say, well, they can shop in their own backyard. Hey, wait a minute, I'm the elected member of the City of Hobart. I represent them, and that's what I'm here to do. I urge the elected members not to throw part 2 to a workshop. Thank you.
Councillor Kitsos.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I can't support this motion before us tonight, and it's for quite a number of well-grounded reasons, I think. And the first thing is that this, to me, is legislation on the fly. This is something that actually has repercussions for our city that we don't have the financial or the economic modelling on at all. And coming from an evidence-based approach in research for so many years, I just feel like, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that this is actually going to work? So we're going to take a financial hit, hoping that the incentives that have been drafted in the motion tonight by Alderman Zuko will work. And to me, that's just actually not good enough. I would need to see substantial evidence that this was a recommended approach to take to support our central business district. I think also we have to keep in mind here that, you know, we have a traffic problem in Hobart. We have a city that is highly congested, and we have a transport strategy that talks to all of the different ways that we're actually going to deal with that congestion, that traffic, all of those carbon emissions that are being put out while people sit idly. I think we have to add into these conversations the alternate ways that people are accessing the CBD, because they are what is growing. We've actually seen a 30% increase in use of public transport since the buses became free. You know, and I've heard the state government is quite shocked by this, and yet, I mean, it stands to reason. If it's free, people will use it. If we had better services, people would use it. If we had better links, people would use it. These are the ways that you actually get more people in and out of the city. The regional, the outer hubs rather, not regional, of your Eastlands, they're offering a whole different product. We have a very active, busy, thriving CBD. Every time I'm in there, I'm surprised and heartened by the amount of people that are going about their business, whether it's getting a snack during their lunch break, getting a coffee, having lunch, sitting down, doing some shopping. All of those people are contributing to the financial economy. And yes, cars do play a role. Not everyone can ride, not everyone can catch a bus. People do need to do things on the way to work and on the way back from work. I acknowledge all of that, but gone are the days where you can expect to just pull up in the CBD of a capital city outside the shop that you want to shop in. That's just not an expectation that people can have going forward. We need to provide access in alternate ways. We need to be smarter about how we do this. This is just taking on another car-centric approach to how we manage our CBD. So for those reasons, there's no evidence that this is going to work. There's not enough financial figures, and it's really not the direction that I want to see Hobart in terms of becoming a vibrant, active, engaged city where people, not cars, can access the CBD.
Further discussion? Alderman Bloomfield.
I think today is a lesson in how to win friends and influence people. You can't be expecting to be collegial if you're not collegial. One of the issues that we have here today is that it's not pointless to discuss these things. It's not pointless to consider and expect change. What's pointless is to be non-collegial in this room. One of the things that we've had consistently come through to us, and I expect most of us have heard, the people lament the loss of the 1.5 hours free parking for the first 1.5 hours. You know, it'd be great to see that come back. There are lots of things that we'd like to see, but our room has changed. Our room has changed profoundly. We have ferries now. We didn't have ferries before. We also have a substantial population growth, which is now stabilised, I note, so it's probably starting to diminish a little. We have a younger population than we've had before. And the most important element is that we are in the crux or the beginning of a substantial recession going forwards for a number of years. So these things all change the way we look at what we do and how we do it. And yes, we also have free public transport, which is brilliant. It has changed things. All of these things provide change, and it means different modelling. It means different outcomes need to be considered. So I applaud the fact that there's been a recognition of the fact that we probably do need to alter the way we look at our parking, absolutely. However, when we look at the administration response, they are very much saying that these suggestions, grand as they are, actually represent a significant departure from established parking management principles and would have substantial financial, operational and transport network implications that have significant flow-on effects within the city. Which means that we actually have to do work before we allow this through, because we actually have to ensure that we do the right thing for our city every time. We don't have the ability to make mistakes, which we've seen before. When we fought, well, I fought tooth and nail against the scramble crossing simply because the immediate effect was a 30% drop in turnover for businesses. They were profoundly affected because of the change. I don't want to see change that does something similar simply because I thought it was better. We need to actually ensure that the modelling is done by those who know how to do the modelling, and then they come back to us. And I do know that they are working on this. I do know we are on the precipice of new, exciting change where we're just waiting for the government to allow us to do number plate recognition, which will completely change the way we do everything throughout our city. We have the Easy Park app on our phones, which completely changes the way we do things. And then going forwards, I hope that we'll have places that we can identify where all our free spots are, so we can basically navigate and get to those places which are available for us immediately live as we go. We already now have, well, I think we now have a app as well, which allows us to see where our buses are and where they are, such that we know we're not about to miss them. I've even met a gentleman who actually wrote a program privately to do this exact job, so they exist now. So with all of that in mind, you know, yeah, this probably does need to go to workshop so we can finish off exactly what we want to give as directions to further fine-tune our expectations, what we'd like to see for our city, and make sure that when the report comes through and the recommendations are done, that we do the absolute level best for our city and for our businesses, because they are impacted, absolutely. We've seen it before, time and again, but the only way we avoid the problems, is to do it well. And we do it well by allowing the staff to do their job as they should. And then we do ours, which is to give them the guidance. Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor was up first.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question, Lord Mayor, through you to the relevant director. Can somebody just explain to me what is the future state of parking project?
Mr. Artup.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the future state of car parking projects, it's a current tender that we've got out to the market to look at all the technology we use in our car parking business to upgrade that to modern technology.
Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thanks, Lord Mayor. I think one of the best things we could do to improve the nature of the city and attract people to the city is to talk it up and stop talking it down. We constantly hear criticism about the city, and it's just not factual. You know, we need to, as two previous speakers, Councillor Kitsos and Alderman Bloomfield have said, we need evidence base to drive change in the city. And that's what's happening with the future state of parking program, which I really look forward to seeing come to fruition, because that's what will drive how movement with cars through the city, how we, as Alderman Bloomfield said, that number plate recognition, that dynamic pricing, which possibly could encourage people to come in at certain times. So there's a whole range of things that I'm hoping will be included in that body of work, and that will be a real game changer for the city. It's a much more sophisticated approach to how people move in the city with their cars. But another big game changer, as Councillor Kitsos has mentioned, is the uptick in bus passengers because of free buses. Now, what we could do in that space is to argue into the future that we should keep free buses in the city for as long as possible. And Brisbane, for example, have 50-cent fares. My partner's just come back from Brisbane where she's been travelling all over the place on 50-cent fares everywhere and said it was just fantastic. We've got a better bus service now than we had because it's for free, so people are catching the bus. There's a really important factor to get people into the city. So the two things I'm highlighting here, one, talk the city up and encourage people to catch the bus if they don't want to worry about parking. And the third element is that the future state of parking program is really important, and we need to support that as a leadership group and not keep coming to the table with our own ideas, but feed those ideas into that process and strengthen that process. So when we get a chance to talk to the community about that, we all stand there united saying, well, we're really keen to improve the outcomes for Hobart with regard to how people come and go from the city. And here's the opportunities that we're creating through this new process. But that's how I see the future of this, not constant notices of motion coming to council, trying to push us to do one particular thing without looking at the big picture. And it's the big picture that takes the big effort, which will make the big changes for Hobart. And what the director and staff are doing is looking at that big picture piece, not trying to cherry pick something. And that's the future, that's where we're heading.
Further discussion? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you. I completely would agree with Councillor Kitsos that if it's free, people will use it. And that's exactly what this motion is about. If it's free, people will use it. So free parking means people will come in and they will use it. And by use it, I mean they will go to our shops, they will go to our professional businesses, they will interact and socialise and trade and spend. If it's free, people will use it. I completely agree, Councillor Kitsos. That's what this motion is about. And Alderman Zuko, it's not pointless and you're not wasting your time with this motion. I know it can feel that way, I absolutely know. But you have a responsibility and a duty under the Act to try, and that's what we do. You have a conscience, and we have to clear our conscience and try, even though we're up against it. I support this because it's common sense that this is a necessary and valuable stimulus to actually support our city. Paid parking is an obstacle, and I completely disagree that Eastlands and our CBD are wholly different products. They're the same sort of places. You can still get snacks and coffees and shopping in our city. You're still professional services, there's still Centrelink and legal services, employment services. The only real difference in terms of what you can access in the CBD is the hospital, in my opinion. And people don't choose to go to hospital. You're either there because you need their help, or you're really sick, or something's happened. You never choose to go to the hospital. And I always feel, as being a frequent flyer at the hospital in my time, I always feel for the patients and their families who need to go there. And that's why I particularly, I think that extending the free parking only by an hour or so would make a big difference. Alderman Zuko is right that the hour goes so fast, and I remember the 90 minutes free. I think it was the 2 hours, and even the 90 minutes was far better because I drive from West Hobart to Eastlands. People see my car there often. I drive there because it's free and it's got pretty much everything. You don't have to worry. And you don't meet your friend in the city because the coffee costs $15 or $10, at least, $12 after the parking. So it is an obstacle, and I know that a lot of us around this table are in a privileged position in terms of income and health and things like that, but everyone isn't in that position. I also worry about our hypocrisy given the number of cars parked under our building right now. We've driven here. We haven't caught the bus, most of us. Often there's cars there and we haven't ridden our scooter or ridden our bikes. So we, through our actions, demonstrate how important parking is. But all in all, I completely agree, Councillor Kitsos. If it's free, people will use it, and that's exactly what we want.
Further discussion on this motion? Any further discussion? Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I'll be brief and say that I don't think this will work. I know that it won't work because you don't get a parking ticket in multi-storey car parks. You just pay for the time that you're there, right? So if you can't afford to spend $3 on parking, you're definitely not buying Councillor Elliott's $15 coffees. Like, I mean, there's some just outrageous claims that are so far from reality with some of her remarks tonight, including the cost of coffee, which is just
Point of order,
triple
Lord
what you
Mayor, that
actually
was
pay.
misrepresenting what I said.
You said $15?
No, including the parking. So
Including the parking, I think she said. All right, let's just move on, please.
So, Lord Mayor, some of the things that this doesn't really talk to as a motion nor understand is latency in systems, is what's called a latent demand. And what we know is that if we encourage people to drive into the city, everybody come to the city in their car, there'll be more traffic. Everyone already complains about the traffic as it is. So this initiative will drive congestion. It will drive motorist frustration. It will decrease parking availability for those who want it, right? So, you know, free on-street parking as a policy, I know it's a discussion paper that's been put together, but the provision of free on-street parking will result in no parking availability whatsoever. So those people who desperately want to park outside the old Habitat, Minimax, will find that in fact there's never a park available outside the shop that they want to go to. There's not even a park available on the block they want to go to anymore because they've driven demand so high that we don't have the supply to match. People around this table are not qualified to make the calls that are being made in this motion in front of us. They are not behavioural economists. They are not transport planners. They don't understand what happens when you offer things for free and the potential consequences of doing so. So I contend that this motion will actually make the city less accessible, result in less business, and make people more frustrated coming here because the journey will be harder, the parking will be harder to get. You might get a free park, but you'll be parking 6 blocks from where you want to go. So for those reasons, I can't support it. I'm not going to criticise anybody for bringing in ideas to the table, right? I think that's, I applaud Alderman Zuko for doing it. People know that I bring motions to the table, and I think that they are a good way for elected members to have their influence and bring ideas and suggestions to the council. But this one, unfortunately, is not something that I can support because of the evidence, because of the cost, and because of the likely poor outcomes that will result in our city if we were to approve this motion tonight.
Councillor Dutta.
Lord Mayor, through you, I just have a question with regards to the parking, 1 hour free parking. If we were to extend it to 2 hours, what would be the financial implications, the loss of avenue, if that can, approximately?
Mr. Arter.
Through you, Chair, that additional hour, the revenue we take in that additional hour across our 3 multi-deck car parks is about $3.2 million per year.
Further discussion, Councillor Dutta.
Oh, thank you. I again, like Councillor Posselt, I don't in any way discourage people not bringing motions. If they have been spoken to, the community have spoken to, and if they want to bring the motions, then I'm quite supportive to debate it, and it doesn't always go our way. Now, in this motion here, I want to also simply address the issue. If the issue, Alderman Zuko is able to take this on board, I will quite happy to support the 2 hour free parking at present, it is not completely, we're talking about free parking of 1 hour. We're not saying we're going to extend it to everybody. My understanding is that this motion is asking us, at present, we have off-street parking where customers are able to come for an hour. If we extend it to 2 hours, the duration of time, that will allow them to spend a bit more money. Now, I have experienced it with my friends, with my close relatives, and those who are elderly, they do struggle with these things. And I think in the situation during winter months, even if we were to try it from August to October and see what the evidence is, because if you're wanting to go evidence-based, it will give us some indication that, okay, we have tried it from August to October, we now have the evidence, and on the basis of the evidence, all the other items can be brought to the workshop, and that evidence can come to us or the new council coming in and can take them up. So I'm supportive of that particular aspect, that I understand there are people who do make suggestions, they quickly rush away because they're going to just stay there for 1 hour. But if 2 hours is given to them, then they'll be able to have coffee. They'll be able to spend a bit more time with their friends. And therefore, I'm supportive of that extension from 1 hour to 2 hours as a trial from August to October. I don't know if it was said. It'll give us the evidence, call it pilot or whatever, and then it can be workshop with other things. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion. Can I actually ask a couple of questions of Mr. Artup about the future state of parking work? I think, what is your time frame for finalising that, first of all?
Thanks, Chair. So we're currently in market at the moment with the tender. So we're hopefully by the end of this year, this calendar year, we'll have some decisions and some recommendations about applying the technology once we get the tender submissions back. So.
Okay, and is it possible that a major change like this may impact on the attractiveness of Hobart for some of those providers? I'm not quite sure. Would this have an impact on what we're asking them to deliver?
What's been discussed tonight is a policy decision of the council, but the technology will allow us to implement a range of policies decided by the council. So tonight necessarily won't impact any decisions around the vendors we pick or the technology used. It'll just enable us to make the policy decisions the council chooses.
Yep. Yeah, and then things like trialling Sundays in winter, extending pensioner vouchers. Oh, can I just ask, with the pensioner vouchers, which I understand, are they still worth $1 million a year for free parking?
I haven't got those figures off the way, but I'll take that one on notice.
Yeah, I think it's not well known, and I often tell people about that they can get a book of free vouchers. I think there's quite 20 or so, or more. I'm not sure, but I think it would be handy to take that on notice and provide some information. And also, do some of these, how would some of the private operators of car parks, is it okay for us to go, is there competition policy issues that we should be considering before we make this decision?
Yeah, as part of the future state of car parking work, we'll certainly be looking at some of those issues you're talking about in terms of competition. We've reached out to some of those private providers recently and got their views on where they stand in the marketplace, so we sort of understand where we're competing and where we're not competing. So, but part of the work we're doing, the technology upgrades at that point in time, when we come back to council with a lot more information and recommendations around technology, those it'll probably become clearer where we stand in terms of competing with the private sector.
Okay, so all of these ideas can potentially be incorporated down the track, but we need to potentially wait to see the...
Yeah, they can and will certainly be involved in briefings that we give to elected members when we complete tender processes, and then understand the technology landscape we'll have, and then that will probably point to certain policy decisions that the council have to make, and some of the other issues mentioned tonight can be certainly picked up in that at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Look, just very briefly, I do appreciate Alderman Zuko's efforts here. I think it is pretty late in the piece in the term, and it is a pretty significant request being made here, and I would prefer if we could consider an evidence base and in with the new technology, and to be making the best decisions. I quite like the idea of trialling it on a Sunday and see what it does. I would love to know more about our $1 million worth of free parking vouchers for pensioners, and to what extent we could upgrade and improve the knowledge of those. And I think this just isn't. This is so significant to how City works that I do feel that it's not really well suited to an individual motion that's sort of chosen one particular pathway, when as a modern governance group we do generally try to get the experts to give us some advice, even though I think we obviously want to bring some of our own ideas, and I think the ideas you've brought about thinking about some changes should potentially be factored in, but I think the parking work that's being done, I'd hate to just sort of go over the top of that or not consider the broader range of opportunities available to us. Thank you. Alderman Zuko, did you want to sum up?
Lord Mayor, I don't believe elected members are actually reading the motion very carefully. And I just want to read it. The Hobart City Council receives the discussions papers as titled. Receive the discussion papers. Right? We're going down the pathway of new technology, and if the officers have a look at what I'm proposing, they can look at it and say, well, can the new technology implement this in the future? Because there are car parks in Victoria that already use this type of technology in the shop and save. And it's not something new. I've been advocating this for years, but we haven't acted upon it. And maybe our council officers can go and look at a number of points that I brought forward many times from previous parking management people in this council. The only action I'm actually asking for is a 2-hour free parking off-street immediately. That's all. Let's do something. I commend Councillor Dutta for saying let's do it a trial for 3 months. Well, it would need to be a little bit longer, because by the time people get to understand it and all that, I'm happy to accept that type of sort of change for 6 months. At least that way, what it does, by the time it's implemented and activated and a report back, fine. I'm happy to trial that for 6 months. If Councillor Dutta's comfortable with that, it'd be great to know. But then, so I'm saying council, accept these discussion papers. I've put a lot of work and effort into it. Of course, I'm not a traffic engineer. Absolutely not. But I've spoken to the TCCI, I've spoken to the THA, and I've spoken to business. I've consulted with it, with people that are on the ground every day dealing with business. So I've gone down that pathway. And we talk about own ideas. Well, there was an idea the other day that we build housing on top of car parks. Something I brought here in 2010. It got built in 2012. We could all bring ideas forward. This is not an idea for something that I'm saying we have to do it. Not at all. It's an idea that I'm giving to our. It's technically. Can I get an extra extension 2 minutes, please?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
Sorry.
All I'm doing is putting my IP to this council to consider. Now, all I'm asking for is support the motion, because the whole of it is for the CEO to report back. There's only one thing you're actually approving: an extra 1 hour car parking for people to come and shop. And I'm happy to add if the seconder will add for 6 months from August.
Okay. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Show of hands. All those in favour. Alderman Zuko
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kelly.
And against?
Councillor Passelt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor, Lord Mayor. The motion's lost.
Okay, it is now 7:10, so I'm going to propose that we adjourn the meeting till 7:25 for a meal break and reconvene at 7:25 for the rest of our agenda. Item 17, which is a motion from Alderman Bloomfield. If everyone could come to order, please. We're starting our meeting, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Public gallery, would you mind just quietening down? We're starting our meeting again.
Order.
Okay, Alderman
Thank you.
Bloomfield.
I want to move that we relook at what happened with the dog park.
Seconder for this motion.
Oh, sorry, seconder.
Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you. We have a real issue with the process that we have worked through with the Darcy Street South Hobart Oval, in that when originally it was agreed that the dogs would move off, it was because there was going to be a promised fenced dog park at Lower Wellesley, and that it was agreed that when that was established that they would move. Except that that's never going to be established, and yet the dogs still were to move. And the problem that I have is ultimately that they've lost access to the oval but not supplied an alternative that was promised. So we've taken away the agreed benefit, but we've actually not made good with our promise, I feel, in my view. Now, I can appreciate that there is process and protocol involved, but I think there's also an element here of public trust. Because I appreciate too that this motion won't be able to open the oval tonight, but it'll have to restart the entire process to get it re-established so that the dog walkers can actually share again the oval. Because at the moment we have a situation where both the proposed Lower Wellesley Park not going ahead, that oval out there is still regularly used and unavailable to the dog walkers. It's currently muddy, which has also been a problem as well. And more importantly, we still have the current oval now not being used for whole areas. So we've got our land is now less used and less amenable to the South Hobart residents. And I do feel, and I'm really concerned about this, in the fact that ultimately this entire issue affects primarily people who live in South Hobart. It was a park in their area that they personally used, and they loved sharing it. There was no issue or enmity about sharing it. There was difficulty sharing, I appreciate, but there was never ever an instance where the people who walked their dogs wanted to have exclusive use. So some of the things that have come through with the recommendations from staff suggest that there were another 17 dog parks around, but all of them required them to get into a car and go to walk their dog, whereas where locally they could simply walk to walk their dog. And it has massively impacted so many people. I literally have this huge, big pile of emails from every individual has taken time to email me and give me their personal story and how much it's impacted them. See, I've got one person here who says it's not a dog issue, it's about people. That dogs simply provided the common interest that brought people together. And this is what we've struck out of our community. I've got people here who have issue with MS and other disabilities who have trouble. They can't access the Wellesley Park, the new park. They can't actually get there because it's too steep and it's too difficult, and so on and so forth. There are so many stories here. You know, I could read them all to you, but it'd be taking way too long. But it really should reiterate that we have affected a community profoundly. My understanding there is, in fact, a petition pointing towards a potential public meeting, which in its own right would tell us all that we've got something wrong. So my motion was predominantly to effectively admit that we should have allowed amenity until we had an alternative, and to allow the process to make good on what we had promised originally, and allow the process to pertain to allow dogs to be allowed again on the oval.
Further discussion? Councillor Kitsos.
Just a question to the relevant officer through you, Chair. Just wondering when the fencing of Wellesley, Upper Wellesley, would be looking to be complete. Can we have a renewed timeline on those works, please?
Mr. Reeve, Director Reeve.
Yes, through you, Lord Mayor. Shortly is probably the answer. I haven't got an exact time frame, but it is a current project to be done in the next probably 4 to 5 weeks or so. Fairly shortly. I think it's just about organising the contractor.
Sorry, Mr. Reeve, is that that's when it's going to start, or that's when it's going to be finished?
So, Lord Mayor, yeah, so the intention is it won't take too long to do, but that's when the intention is to start it. It'll probably take a few more weeks after that just to complete.
Further discussion? Councillor Sherlock.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Look, I do note that the first sentence in the rationale of this particular motion says the restriction on dogs at South Hobart Oval was introduced on the understanding that a suitable purpose-built off-lead area would be established at Lower Wellesley Park. And I do appreciate the question that Councillor Kitsos has said. And just taking account of what the motion is saying from point 1 to point 5, and also understanding the community concern out there, I would, and of course, as has been stated, you know, the community has been impacted profoundly, and as a result, Lord Mayor, there's a lot of what I agree with this particular motion, but there's an aspect that I probably don't agree with in light of the various different things that are going on in this space, and that's just been answered. So would it be possible to split that, how we vote on it?
If you like. If the
That'd be great.
if the mover would like that.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's no vote required on it?
Just agree.
No, not really. I don't think
Agreement of us as the mover and seconder.
Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I won't speak too long on this because I have spoken at length on this topic several times now. Look, I am a strong supporter of shared use of our community facilities, and I have tried my hardest to find a way forward on this issue with regards to the South Hobart Recreation Ground. So I am very happy to support this motion as a result. I'm a bit concerned that nothing has changed since our last 2 votes on this issue, which does suggest that this motion will lose again, unfortunately, the same as last time. But regardless of that, I do hope that there is a significant change in voting intentions and that we can move forward on a compromise solution for the shared use of the South Hobart Rec Ground. I also understand there is a petition circulating on this issue regarding reinstating dog access to the South Hobart Rec Ground in some form or other. And I do hope that petition can trigger some sort of a process for our next term. I believe they are quite close to 1,000 signatures to getting the valid number. But all of that said, I really think there's not much more for me to say here. As I said, I hope there is a change in the voting intentions and that we can move forward, but if not, I do personally intend to continue to raise this issue throughout the election campaign because I think it's important. I think it's really important that we retain shared use of our community facilities. So that's my contribution, Lord Mayor, but I would ask at the end of that contribution, given the timing, the time it is now and the amount of work we still have to do, I would ask that the motion's brought on for a vote. Thank you.
So that's a procedural motion. Yeah, all right. We don't need a second to proceed that motion. Okay, so but we can take one. Yes, seconded by Councillor Posselt. So this is just whether we put the motion right now. So all those in favour of putting the motion next, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Councillor Basselt. Councillor Kitsos. Sorry. Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor, Lord Mayor.
Okay. All right. Oh, And those against? Sorry, getting tired.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kelly. The procedural motion is carried.
Okay, so now, because of what we talked about before that was approved by the mover and seconder, I'm going to move each of these items separately. So item number 1, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. All those in favour of item 2 say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 3, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Deputy Lord Mayor, Lord Mayor.
And against, sorry.
Yeah. Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Harvey. Is anyone abstaining?
Is this is 3? Are we on 3?
Yes, this is for 3.
Should we?
4, 5, 6. I have 6 ayes and 4 noes.
Oh, we're missing 2 votes. Okay, let's.
Myself and Kellen.
Might have been not counted.
Let's count. Let's do it again.
Councillor Purcell, did you vote for or against?
Do it again.
Should we just do it again?
We can just do it again.
So item 3, all those in favour say aye. Oh, sorry, all those in favour raise your hands.
So, in favour is Councillor Dutta, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Deputy Lord Mayor,
And against?
Councillor Elliott, Alderman Zuko, how are you voting?
I did.
Against?
Against? So Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Purcell, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey. That's 6 votes for and 6 votes against, so that's
Lost. Okey-doke. Item 4.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. In light of item 3 being voted down, I don't think that 4 and 5 can be voted on.
I think we still have to.
I think they're essentially ultra vires because if you vote one up, then you will have a conflicting decision. Well, you will.
Yeah.
So
Let's
what do we
see
do?
how the votes go. Let's just see. I don't. Yeah.
It is worth taking a vote on them, just so that there can be no dispute down the track.
Yeah.
If the outcome of the vote will depend on how we then proceed.
Okay. All those in favour of item 4 say aye. Against say no. Show of hands for all those in favour of 4.
For item 4, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Deputy Lord Mayor. Is it? Against?
Against, sorry.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Purcell, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Lord Mayor. So item 4, Lord Mayor, is lost.
And item 5. All those in favour, raise your hand.
So, do we vote for
So all those in favour, raise your hand.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Again, this is why I was concerned about this So
It's not a point of order.
well, I don't know what I'm voting on because we've already voted on the first half of this. So can we re-split it into two? Because one is asking for a report to be prepared on something that we've voted against, and the other part is about a purpose-built off-lead dog area. It's 2 points, and we've already voted.
Just have to make a decision.
Item 5 is that the council requests a report be provided to council on the proposed interim arrangements and options for delivering a permanent purpose-built off-lead area. That is something that can be actioned in isolation.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favour of 5, raise your hand.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Deputy Lord Mayor, Lord Mayor.
And against?
Councillor Elliott. Councillor Dutta, how are you voting?
Is it number 5, is it?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
4.
So against is Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Passelt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey. The item 5, Lord Mayor, is lost.
What was that, lost?
Lost with 6 votes.
Okay, so that is decided. There's a few, hopefully people kept an eye on which were voted for and against there. But we will move on now to the next motion. So it is motion 18 from Councillor Coates.
Look, thank you, Lord Mayor. I did email elected members earlier in regards to this motion.
Seconder. Councillor. Oh, sorry.
I'm about to, yeah. So, I did it, for the purpose of those watching, I emailed my fellow elected members earlier today. The history of this was just a concern that not enough time was being given, so that obviously they've gone out for consultation. It's had a huge amount of community interest, and it is a big decision for the council. And I was informed that it was going to be coming back to an August planning committee meeting, which is 12th of August. As you'll read in the administrative response, it's now had an extension granted by the TPC in terms of the consultation period, which is good, so that allows that to happen, and also they've got notes there regarding the ability for representation to happen to the 26th, I think it is, planning committee meeting. So, noting the administrative response and the successful application to the Tasmanian Planning Scheme for an extension of consultation time, I'm happy to withdraw this motion.
Okay. Moving on now to item 19, Councillor Dutta, temporary relief to hospitality and retail businesses.
I would like to move the motion, and if I have a second to find, then I'll leave the room again.
Is that possible? I don't think you can move the motion.
Okay, all right.
It's contrary to the intention of the act.
So, Councillor Dutta, what do you want to do?
Okay, let's withdraw it.
Withdraw the motion.
And a lot of things are already covered in Councillor other motions, so we're just going over it. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on now to item 20, which is responses to questions without notice. Would someone like to move? Moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Coates. All those in favour say aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 21 is questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. More than 6 months ago, I asked for a breakdown of legal expenses relating to an elected member. I still haven't received a response. When can I expect to have a response?
Councillor Passelt, I'm relatively confident that you can expect an answer by the next council meeting, preferably earlier. We've been liaising with our insurance company regarding clarification on some of those matters, and we're still awaiting a final response, but it is expected within the coming days.
Further questions? Councillor Harvey.
Yes, Lord Mayor. I've got a question regarding the closure of an urgent care clinic in Hobart. Can it be confirmed that one of those clinics will be closing, which would be very detrimental to the city?
Does anyone know the answer to that, or take it on notice, maybe? Put on notice, yeah. Any further questions? Councillor Posselt.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, one further. I received some correspondence from a third party today relating to the Minister's assessment of Crown licences associated with Battery Point Walkway. If that correspondence is accurate and the Minister does not grant any amendments to the leases, what are the next proposed steps?
CEO will respond.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Look, so we've got an active notice of motion that we still need to respond to the council on. So the intention will be to provide that to the next available council meeting now that the advice has been provided. I'll confirm that the advice has been provided to us also. So the next steps will be for a council report to be brought forward.
Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I have a single question just about the extreme weather protocol. We received an email last week asking us not to talk about it publicly, but I just wondered if we can now talk about what happened last week publicly, and if the council would in fact put something out about it as well. Thank you.
Mr. Artup, Ms McKibben.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. That's correct. We did ask elected members not to distribute that announcement that we opened up Criterion House for the extreme weather shelter. We're currently reflecting the learnings from the experience last Thursday, what the agency's learned. We will soon have the final version of the extreme weather protocol finalised. So it was a bit of a live example as we went before we finalised the protocol. Once that protocol is completed, I'd imagine we could do some comms on that and also talk about threshold for standing up a weather shelter in the future, which will allow elected members to talk publicly around that protocol. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question through you to the CEO. Doesn't have to answer it now. But could the CEO please provide all elected members a copy of the correspondence received in respect of the Battery Point Walkway as soon as possible?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I can answer that. It's intended to be provided together with our letter of request to the Minister in the Friday's bulletin.
Can we get it prior to that?
Oh, yep, absolutely.
As soon as possible. Thank you.
I have a question just around, my understanding is that there was an announcement from the state government that there's currently excavation works have started at the Macquarie Point site, running until mid-2027, excavating about 100,000 cubic metres of soil, and a truck is expected to leave every 8 minutes from the site till mid-2027. So my questions are, are we accepting any of that fill at Macrobies, and will that lead to any additional truck movements into the into Macrobies? And two, given is sort of a truck expected to leave every 8 minutes consequential or not particularly? Is it something that our traffic staff have liaised with the state government about?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Look, I'll have to come back to you in writing with more detail on it. I can clarify that, yes, that some of the fuel will be accepted at Macrobies. Certainly the truck movements are nowhere near the nature of what you've just talked about. We're not the only site where the fuel is being accepted, but I'll certainly come back to you in terms of the likely truck movements associated with what will come to Macrobies.
Okay. Just another question on that. Will those truck movements exceed the agreed movements in the Good Neighbour Agreement?
As I say, I'll take that on notice and confirm it in writing.
Okay. Any further questions? There being none, we'll move on to If I can get a motion to move into the closed portion of the meeting. Moved by Councillor Kitsos, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against